What's up, fam? How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to another episode of Mastermind Academy. How is everyone doing? What's up, Rhino GS7? What's up, Boba Cat? What's up, Imgene? Good to see your lovely names, your lovely faces up here. How's everyone doing? We're on time. I just had I thought I was gonna be late, but I wasn't. I got some coffee tonight. This is I'm experimenting a little more with some different types of coffee instead of LaCroix tonight. I also have my giant sipping glass here instead of my bottle, so I'm ready. I am in fact ready. This coffee right here is it's a nice it's a pretty dark roast. It's a ceremony coffee. And it's a ceremony, I believe, is a Baltimore like coffee company, and this has notes of chocolat, molasses, and a hint of notes of cream as well. So we're trying that out tonight because I need some coffee. That's why we're coconut LaCroix. I'm in for the LaCroix. Coconut is my least favorite, but that's because I don't really like coconut anyway in real life. I did not run up the stairs today. I got to walk because I had a lot of stuff in my hand. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna try to like coconut. I'm starting to come around to things. Just started eating bananas. I've never liked bananas in my whole life, and now I kind of like them. Strawberries, certain melons, I'm starting to pick up. I'm trying to eat cantaloupe. I'm struggling with it a little bit, but I'm starting to like it a little bit. I can also even do what I originally thought was the most disgusting thing on the planet, which was celery, and I can kind of do celery right now, so I'll stick with that. And the thing I really want to work on is tomatoes, raw tomatoes. I can eat cooked tomatoes. I can eat sun-dried or roasted tomatoes. Regular tomatoes are pretty nasty. I know it sounds like I just don't like a lot of vegetables and fruits, but that's not true. I like a lot of them, and we're getting there. Orange and key lime, I see, that's better. That's better, much better. See, start with cherry tomatoes and work my way up. I don't know about that. Cherry tomatoes, like they're not cherries, they're just little tomatoes. A little bit weird to me. But tonight we are back with Horizons. Tonight we're going to be learning a lot about S3. We're going to learn more about S3 tonight. So we're going to be doing specifically S3 from the command line tonight. Why are we doing this service from the command line? One is because I think S3 is the service that one that you probably are going to be able to utilize most in your day-to-day activities, and most people interact with S3 from the command line because the commands are pretty semantic, especially from what you're coming from some of the Linux stuff that we learn. So we'll be diving into all of that stuff, and then we'll be learning about CDNs and CloudFront and how they kind of interact. We'll set up a CloudFront distribution. We'll set up a CDN instance along with our S3 bucket. And kind of see how that works and what it provides us. So yeah, Vitamix blender helps eat. Yeah, Unpalatable Foods blend. We just got a juicer. My wife just started juicing, and I hate beets, but when they're juiced with other things, I don't mind it. And I may not hate beets anymore, to be honest. Like the flavor was very familiar. Beets they kind of taste like dirt, to be honest. So some people like that, some people don't. I don't love it, but I think I could get around to it. But I want to start incorporating some more of those things into my diet. Honeydew, I'm good on honeydew. I'm good on honeydew. I don't like honeydew. I don't really like any melons, honestly, but I can stomach watermelon. I can stomach cantaloupe, but I want to like cantaloupe. Like I see people on hot summer days with their cantaloupe in a spoon, and some people put a little salt on it, which is a little weird to me, but like maybe that's good, and they'll just like scoop it out. It just looks so tasty. Cantaloupes are nice, nice and orange, but it looks really appetizing, but it's just not. Also, I only watched the first season of BoJack. I haven't watched any more BoJack. I gotta get back to it. Durian smells like booty. I don't know if I'm allowed to say booty on this stream, but durian smells like booty, and I've heard that it tastes pretty boogery, both consistency and smell, so that's pretty disgusting, and that turns me off. So I'm gonna stay away from durian for sure. Yeah, I'm good on that. We just had dragon fruit We just had dragon fruit for the first time. That was pretty good. I like dragon fruit. I actually really enjoyed it. A little weird when you first open it up. Dragon fruit looks like well, first off, it tastes like a mix between like a kiwi and a pear, and I kind of like that. But it looks like a cookies and cream milkshake when you open it up, like when you first cut open to it. And it looks pretty crazy from the outside, so you're like, you don't expect it to look like that. At least I didn't. That was pretty interesting. Didn't really like. I had star fruit as well. Didn't really like it, but I've never tried passion fruit. We're gonna look for some passion fruit. Never tried it. Booty allow. It smells like booty. So if that's something you like, go for it. It does not smell good. But yeah, I'm gonna try passion fruit. Passion fruit looks like it might be crunchy, which might be a little bit weird. At least when I watched a video of somebody eating it, because I want to know how to cut it, and it looks crunchy. Just pouring up my ceremony antithesis coffee. All right, there we go. I've had guava before. Guava's really good. I like guava. I love mangoes. Yeah, but there's a lot that I don't. Jackfruit? No, not jackfruit. I said durian, right? Durian's the stinky one. Jackfruit's fine. Jackfruit's okay. But jackfruit is like, I just wish people would stop trying to trick me with jackfruit. Like, it's jackfruit. Like, you don't have to tell me it's vegan barbecue. Like, it's jackfruit. It's okay. All right. Washroom installs Java. That's a good one. Java install. Let's see. This is my first taste of this coffee. I just ground up the beans. Smells good. It's okay. It's different. It's different from what I usually drink. Yeah. Ugh. Coconut water is in fact musty. That's the perfect word for it. I don't like coconut water. It feels like I'm drinking the like sweat from a shirt or something. But I'll get there. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna make myself like it. Mangoes? No, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is at all. But yeah, I'm glad. I would definitely keep giving me fruit recommendations because I'm exploring new things. Like I said, my wife is studying. She's getting her nutrition's master's right now, or master's in nutrition and in integrative health. And yeah, we've been trying new stuff, and it's been a fun little ride. And like I realized how small of like I've been only eating a small sliver of foods my whole life, and it's been fun kind of expanding to see what I like. But tonight we're here to learn about object storage and how to manage object storage from the command line, not talk about fruits. We could put our fruits in our object storage if we needed to. What's up, gamers? I am in fact a gamer. So I don't know if anyone, any Valorant players are out here. I'm trying to get good at it, but I'm pretty bad. I don't have enough time to get good. But that's what I will be playing because it's high skill and I like high skill games, even though I'm not. No, I have not. See films. I have not had a kumquat. I don't even know that that's a real fruit, to be honest with you. Is intro to computer science already finished? Yes. The intro to computer science runs. What's today? Today is Wednesday. Intro to computer science runs Tuesday, Thursday. So it runs again tomorrow. It's not done. They run in tandem. So this one is Monday, Wednesday. That one's Tuesday, Thursday. All right. So let's pull up our slides. Actually, you know what's funny? I don't think I put any of this stuff in I don't think it released. Let me see. Horizons. I think I looked earlier because I didn't get the email and it didn't. I did this wrong too, but no biggie. I have the slides here for you. What's today? S3 CLI plus CloudFront. Yeah. I don't remember. I think CloudFront is one word. And let's go ahead and let's add material real quick, and we'll add some material as we go. I have some stuff for you for this. Slides. Sorry, this wasn't added before. I think we have a fair amount of slides tonight, to be honest. I think they're like 20 maybe, which is a little more than I wanted, but they're all to cover one small concept at a time. Let me get you the link to the slide now. Now it should be up in your classroom. But let me get you the link here. Get shareable link. Slack room. Yeah, exclamation point Slack. We'll get you all set up. Yeah, I was never a CS:GO player, but I might give it a go now. I have CS:GO. I you know, I just hopped in and out, like people were just killing me and no one helped me out, but someone I know kind of showed me the ropes a little bit with Valorant, and I'm pretty decent. I'm decent at it. But you know, I want to be good, but I really don't have enough time to be good. But it's still just gonna be something that eats away at me. So I'm gonna keep playing. I'm gonna try to. The games are long too. That's the other problem. Like you can't just get in and play like a 12-15 minute game. Like you gotta commit at least an hour, or win real fast, which is kind of hard to do. Pretty annoying. Oh, also someone who demo 2 mission scub today. What is that? I don't know what that is, but for people who are asking about, someone was asking about the YouTube videos yesterday. I got the YouTube video issues worked out. One of my videos did get pulled and I mislabeled 2 of the decoded videos. Those are all up to date. So everything from previous weeks should be there and available. I removed the section that got it DCMA striked, and it is up and available now. So check it out if you were looking for it. Okay, let's get going. Once again, I'm gonna fight my urge to talk about how much time it's gonna take tonight. Actually, maybe we'll make it an official thing. Maybe we'll write a little plug-in to, like, in the beginning, let's put in an actual time estimation and maybe see if we can hit that time estimation. But I'm gonna do my best not to talk about it tonight. Just know that my hopes for you, my hopes are that we're out of here early. That's my hopes. Okay. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But tonight is S3. You know what? No. I said I was on this last time. S3 from the cloud plus CloudFront. The best objects in life are cached. I bought it. I needed to use it. There we go. I'm gonna use it to introduce every lesson that we have from now on. So, oh yes, I missed it because of work. I got a last minute meeting right at 4, right at, like, we called it right at 4. It was supposed to launch at 4 o'clock Eastern time. Okay, it's not a good thing. I'm mad they had to. I didn't know that's what it was called, but I'm glad. I'm kind of glad they had to reschedule it for Saturday. Only problem is I hope it's not Saturday during the stream, because I'm actually super excited about that. SpaceX is SpaceX and NASA launching astronauts into space for real. First time in like a decade. So this is gonna be pretty exciting. Thank you for that. That makes me very happy, because I forgot it happened, because I was mad for a minute that I was gonna miss it. I was actually really mad when that meeting got called, and I was like, I'm angry. But now I'm not angry anymore. So dope. Let's do this. Bucket operations. Is operation spelled right? Maybe. Okay, so this looks way different than what it looked like when it was smaller, but that's someone just opening and closing their mouth. But the anatomy of an AWS CLI command. We've talked about this a little bit before, but the first thing I want to do tonight is introduce you again to the anatomy of a CLI command so that you can get a little more comfortable with it. Because again, I understand how intimidating the CLI can be. So let's talk about it. First, you call the AWS CLI tool. And so a couple things need to happen for you to be able to follow along tonight. You would have had to install the AWS CLI, which we did maybe the second class. And you must have programmatic access. And to have programmatic access to your AWS account, you must have set up your AWS CLI with a secret key, a secret key, and an access key, and a secret key. 2 different keys you'd have needed to set yourself up with. We've gone through that. It's okay if you don't have it set up. We're not going to stop to go through it unless I'm not set up. I don't remember if I'm set up in this VM, but maybe we'll just, if you want to do that after this, you can go back and look at the IAM class to figure out how to go ahead and get that done. But how do you call the AWS CLI tool? And that is with typing in AWS, and that will call the AWS CLI tool. So we'll do these in tandem. And actually, this is the one problem between using a VM versus using like an actual Linux laptop is okay, I can remember this. My key bindings are different. Okay. All right, so we're gonna stay on this screen, or now I can just go up and down. There we go. Okay. So from the command line, you're going to open up your command prompt on Windows or PowerShell, or your terminal, or Windows Subsystem for Linux, or again your terminal for Mac and Linux. And to call the AWS command line tool, you just type in AWS. And although what we're going over now is the anatomy of AWS CLI commands, this is also generally the structure for Linux commands, period. So enter, and when you get some text back like this, if you do not have AWS installed properly, it will tell you, hey, AWS command not found. But if you type in AWS, it will give you some information. It'll say, hey, this is how you use this thing. Might be a little bit confusing. I'm basically walking you through right now this usage set right here. And then it gives you some options that you might want to try, but go ahead and just type in AWS and see if that works. But that is the first part. That's always gonna be the first part of your command. So whenever you want to use AWS CLI, you just type in AWS. Whoops, I didn't need to do that. Up and down, that's what I need to remember. Okay. What's up, Devo8? How you doing tonight? Yes, I can paste the link again. This should be the link. There we go. There's a link again. Spleen Rooster, I love it. I love the name. What's up, Nexus6? Good to have you. Lord Beard 88, you subscribed. You followed 2 hours ago. Hopefully you're here. But hello, how you doing? What's up, Mickey? All right, so that's the first part of your command. And so I wrote this in a very one step after another way. That's not really true. This is just to break down the different pieces. So the first part is AWS, and it's not $sign AWS. It's just that most of your prompts are gonna start with a $sign. So I just put that there because most of your terminals are going to probably start with that. Mine does not, but it's okay. So just AWS to call it. And then the next thing you're gonna add is the service that you wanna access. So we've learned about a few services already. So I can type in AWS. What are some of the services we've learned? So first thing we learned about was what, IAM. And so if I type this in, it gives me the same kind of output because I didn't type in everything that it needed. But that's just the next thing that goes in here. I can type in S3, I can type in EC2, and this is the next piece of the command. So you want to call AWS first, and then you want to call the service in which you want to operate in, the service that you want to control. And so tonight we're going to be doing stuff with S3. So most of tonight we're going to be doing AWS S3. All right. So that does nothing by itself. Shoot. Then you need to add your desired action. So AWS, the service that you care about, that you want to be managing, and then the operation that you want to do to it. Here's one of them. You don't know about it yet. It's okay. But you can try that, and I can do AWS S3 LS, and some things get listed here. So something happens. So again, AWS, the service that you want to manage, and then the operation that you want to do. And the last thing is you could add parameters. So you can see up here it says AWS, then your options, then your commands, subcommands. We can add a lot of subcommands. We're going to see those tonight. And that's what the last item here shows. So if I do S3, I can actually do it on a bucket as well. So if I do S3 www.mastermind.io, which is one of my buckets right here, it actually does something different. And this time it lists the things that are in bucket. So is this content recorded on a YouTube channel? Yes, it is. They're put in playlist on YouTube. They are there. And they stay here for 14 days as well, but you can catch up if you are behind. So that's, again, is just breaking down the anatomy of an AWS command, or really pretty much any Linux command in particular. So how do you get help? If you want to get help using an AWS CLI command, what can you do? You can simply ask for help from the command line. Now, although I'm telling you to do this, this is not what I advise you to do, but eventually you'll get here. And I want you to know that it's in the back. Like, I want you to have it in the back of your mind. I do encourage you to start trying to do it, but feel free. I'm about to give you the resources to find this in AWS's documentation. But if I don't know what I want to do, I can just type in AWS help. And this will take you to something called a man page, short for manual. And it'll tell you have to use your up and down arrows here, and it'll basically tell you how to use it. But it takes time to learn how to read this and to parse this information properly, and to understand what it's telling you. Once you understand how to read one man page, you now understand how to read all of them. But again, like I said, it's a little bit of an art to do it. I just want you to know that this is where you can get help. This is where you can do quick references to find out what you can do. But that's not where I want you to go. If you need help, I want you to go to AWS CLI reference. I want you to go right in here. And this is the place. That's where you want to go to get the most out of your AWS stuff. This is a good place because you can kind of search for the thing that you want to use. So if I want to type, I want to know what kind of S3 commands I have. Actually, this is not where I want to send you. Sorry, this is actually it is. Actually, I think I wanted to send you to the search doesn't work how I thought it worked, or does it? Available services. Okay, maybe I'll send you to this page. Let's do this one. This is the one that you might want to go to, and then you can find your service. So I could go down to, maybe I want to do something with again EC2, and then I can find out in here what options I have. And so this isn't incredibly helpful because you kind of have to already know what actions you have, like that you can do, which is everything. But I encourage you to kind of look through the list if you want to be able to manage stuff via the command line, which is, I highly encourage. You can kind of go in here and see what options you have, but also just Google it. Like literally Google, like, how do I do this to this service in AWS or in AWS CLI? And it will likely take you to one of these pages. So, but you can also do it a little more granular. So you can also do it down to the level of the service itself. So while this will give me general AWS help, like it'll give me some generalized help options, if I do AWS S3 help, this will give me specific information about what I can do with S3. So that's kind of nice. Like I said, only kind of nice once you're at the point where you kind of understand how to read these man pages. They're pretty verbose. There's a lot of words here, and it can be very confusing, but this is an option for you, and eventually you'll get there. And then you can also do it for individual commands, I believe. Yeah, I already did. Yes. So individual commands within a service. So if I do like AWS EC2 describe instances, it will give me information about the exact command that I'm trying to run and what it does. It gives me a description about what it does right up top. See, describes the specified instances or all AWS account instances, and then it'll give me some things I can pass to it. So some parameters and filters and things I can pass to it, and some options I have when I'm working with it. So that is how you get help if you need it. Any questions about that so far? Do you prefer hosting your static S3 on S3 versus the old way? Yes, 1000%. Why do I prefer hosting my static sites on S3? Because there's no management, there's no server management. If I host my static site behind a web server on an EC2 instance, I have to make sure, I got to periodically update that EC2 instance with security updates. Not necessarily hard, but I have to do that. It's more expensive, a lot more expensive. And then I have to worry about traffic. If my site becomes super popular, I have to worry about, what kind of computer it's running on, what type of server it's running on, scaling up and scaling down and things like that. So these are just all things that are mitigated by S3. You don't have to worry about anything. Just put your files in the bucket and it will take care of most of it for you. Okay. So that's how you find help. If you need it. But again, Google is your friend. And actually, I'm going to put that in here. Let's go back really quick. I'll put Google first. Google it. I want you all to know it's okay to Google it. We're gonna Google a lot tonight. But you can type in from the CLI, you can get your help as well. And so AWS help, AWS, the service you want help with, or AWS, the service and the command that you want to perform, and you can get help with that specifically as well. What's up, Aya? How you doing? What's up, Key Lime? All right, so the next, why do I keep getting out of here at a presentation? The next thing, let's start typing in some commands. Let's start getting hands on keyboard and seeing some things. We just saw this one. We saw both of these actually, but let's do it again. Tonight I'm gonna give you some of the main things that you're gonna wanna do from the command line with S3 to manage S3, to get information about S3, all that stuff. So the first thing we wanna do is we wanna list all of our buckets. We wanna be able to see all of the buckets that we have. And so the way that you do that is simply AWS S3 LS. So remember, this is kind of nice. It's kind of nice and easy for people to remember as you start learning more and more of your Linux commands, command line commands, because this is the same command to list in Linux, to list out your files. So this is very similar. So an LS will simply give us all of the buckets that we have. And I want to say this is the date they were created, or this is the date they were last updated. I can't remember if there's a created date or updated date, but not super important. This is just a list of all of those buckets. So try that out. See if you can get that to show. You might have one bucket because we created some stuff. If not, you might have no buckets. If you have no buckets, no big deal. We're going to be creating some buckets tonight. Your terminal / Python running. You can either exit the terminal. You can type in that exit function that Frequency Hop just said, or you can press Control D. So if I'm in Python, if I'm in the interpreter, I can press Control D. If you had a Python program running that was still running for some reason, you could do Control C to get out of it, but Control D will get you out of the interpreter. A lot of people don't know that. How do I get this terminal app? I use a terminal app called Hyper, and yeah, there we go. Exclamation point terminal. Thank you. Yeah, and my settings are in there. I think, or they're my GitHub. I think you can type in terminal settings and it'll tell you how to get your setup like mine. It should be up to date. But Hyper's cool. It does not work fast on everyone's computer though. So if it doesn't work for you, I'm sorry. It is an Electron app. And Electron apps aren't terrible always, but sometimes they can be funky with their performance. All right, let's get out of here. Oh man. Okay, so that's how we see our buckets. AWS S3 LS, and LS is list. And again, if you wanted to know what LS did, you can do AWS. Let's make this larger. AWS S3 help, and it'll actually, that's not what I wanted. I wanted AWS S3 LS help. And it'll tell you list S3 objects and common prefixes, under prefixes, or all S3 buckets. And that's all we're gonna worry about right now. We're not gonna worry about any of the other things here for that, any of the flags that we can put in. That's how you see that. And you can also use the list command to see what's inside of a bucket by specifying the bucket. So with no parameters, it will list all of your buckets. But if you list a bucket, I want to see what's in bootcamp.mastermind.io. It does in fact list the things that are in the bucket rather than buckets themselves. So I have these files and these folders. They're not actually folders, but we talked about this a little bit. It says PRE here. We're gonna talk about that in a second, but those are prefixes. Remember that we said there's no real folder structure in object storage. They give you that option because it makes more sense to, you know, to humans and the way that we think and the way that we like to organize. But these are actually individual objects themselves. There is stuff in it, but only for your view. Is not really inside of it. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. We'll see that in a second. You can actually see that right now. You can also see what's inside of these folders. Like if you're like, hey, I want to see what's inside of the curriculum folder. you would just put a slash here and type your path to the thing that you want. So curriculum. And if I hit enter, I'm only gonna get one thing here. And so that didn't show me what was inside of it. The reason why this didn't show me what's inside of it is because, again, this isn't actually a folder. This is an object itself. I know it's very confusing. So the name of the object is curriculum slash, actually. So when I type this in, it knows that I kind of want this. And so it's showing me that object that it matches, but it's not showing me what's behind it. I have to type in the slash. I have to include that slash because that's a part of the key name. It's a part of the object name. And then this will show me what is inside the curriculum object directory, whatever. And that's how you can see this stuff. And so anything that has PRE after it, again, it stands for prefix, and you know that's essentially their version of a folder. So yeah, so I have some files in here. And then if I wanted to see what's in DevOps, I can see what's in DevOps as well. And I can see that there's a file in there. So that is how you can view what buckets you have. The ls command is how you can both view your buckets and how you can view the items, the objects that are inside of your bucket. Unable to locate credentials. Hassel Marsalis, yeah, you might need to set up your AWS CLI. You may need to grab a user. You might need to grab your access key and secret key from IAM if you haven't already done that. We did that in I want to say the third class, second or third class. So you can go back and watch that video to see how to set that up. Yeah. Is there any plugins or configs to autocomplete for AWS CLI? Yes, there are. I don't know of any. I've just kind of gotten good muscle memory so far. So like, I don't usually tab complete any of it. Actually, if you mean autocomplete like your resources from AWS, I've seen someone do that, but I think it was fairly heavy because like it's constantly making requests. Like it has to like make all these requests to like know what's there because this stuff isn't local to your computer. But I have seen something. Someone was working on something. Maybe it's mature now. I don't know. I bet there's something though. People are lazy, so they make their lives easy. He did not read. Nah, I know we're not shaming. We're just saying, after you watch tonight and then go back and set it up when you have a chance to, or go set it up now and come back and watch this later. Either one works. AWS shell. Okay, so they have a whole shell for this. Is AWS Labs a real? Oh, this is official. This is an official thing. Integrated shell for working with, this is nice. This is kind of nice. I'm gonna check this out. I like that. I like that frequency hop. Thank you. It's got a lot of stars, which means it's decent. Oh, dope. You have it already set up. Excellent. Yeah, it is. You're right. Let me see. Are there any more recent branches? We'll check that. See the commits. Yeah, 2018. Woof. Oh, this is old. This might be, they might have abandoned this. So we'll see. I'll still check it out though. I'll definitely still check it out. All right, so that is how you list your buckets. The ls command is how you list your buckets. And this is a command that I would remember. The commands that we give tonight, I wouldn't necessarily remember, each iteration that we do, but I would remember ls and what it does, that it lists buckets, or if you specify a bucket, it does list your objects. Now, you might want to say, hey, can we make a bucket from the command line? Can we create a bucket from the command line? Yes. Anything you think you can do, anything that you know that you can do in AWS, you can do it from the CLI, because yes, we'll talk about why later, but yes, you can do everything you want from the command line. And so you can create a bucket with the MB command, and that's actually for make bucket. That's what it's for, make bucket instead of create bucket. I wish it was CB, to be honest with you. But yeah, so again, AWS, S3 MB, and then this little S3:// which specifies kind of the protocol here and the name of the bucket. So let's make our own bucket. Feel free to make your own bucket. Again, I think I'm 99% sure buckets are completely free. Yeah, just what you put in it might not be. But let's clear this out and let's create our own bucket. So AWS S3. Actually, first thing we're going to do is let's do an AWS S3 LS so we can see the buckets that currently exist. So this is all of my currently existing buckets. And here's what we'll create. We'll create a bucket, S3 MB for make bucket, and then S3:// and I'm going to call this bucket mastermind backup because I'm actually going to use this bucket. I'm actually going to use this to back up all of my things. And so I spelled it wrong already. I almost made my first big oopsie, but I caught it because I double checked. And this is the command that you're going to want to run. So where I wrote mastermind backup, now I'm going to be upset if one of you already stole it because I said I was going to make it. It's going to hurt my feelings, but it's okay. I'll forgive you and I'll find a different name. But I'm going to go ahead and hit enter here. And then it's going to send off a command to AWS's API. And it's going to say, hey, this guy mastermind, he's got a secret key, an access key set up, and it says he's authorized to do this action. So go ahead and make a bucket for him. And so that's happening. And if I run AWS S3 LS again, look at this mastermind backup. And it was created just now, 5/27/2020 at 7:36 p.m. and 52 seconds. And we have created a bucket. You see how easy it is. See how easy it is to do the stuff that you need to do. You have all this access right at your fingertips, and this is why the cloud is so exciting. So just that easy. We did it. So yes, great question, Keylime TV. Let's actually go into the console and let's look at it. It does in fact get the default permissions for S3 buckets, which is basically no access to anything. But that's an excellent question, and let's look at it. Just because we're doing stuff from the command line does not mean that we can't use both the console and the command line together to get information, to figure out, to know what's going on. It's okay. It's like you can use them in tandem. They're both tools. They're both tools. Don't feel, if you hate the command line, you know, I get it, and you want to just use the console, that's great. But you can do things faster, and again, you're able to do things programmatically from the command line, so you can set up automation and some cool things when you do things from the command line, and when you learn how to use to access AWS programmatically. So we'll get logged in here. 333-018. Okay, let's hop over to S3. Let's head on down to mastermind backup. Oh, actually, look at that. It says objects can be public. Interesting. I didn't know that it was going to get those permissions. So it does not get created with this block all public access off. Now, due to those things that I said you could add onto the command, you can specify in this make bucket command what the you can change the permissions from the command line. You can set the ACLs, you can set the permissions of the bucket from the command line, and you can do that upon creation. I assume they would get the default, like block everything off, but it looks like the things in here can be public. They won't be public by default. So basically the same settings we had before, the default settings, minus the one big check mark here, which is kind of interesting. I didn't know that. Very, very interesting. And I need to start going through and doing some of this stuff out of context, because this is, I just assumed this will be right. Like I said, I'm usually using like Terraform or CloudFormation to do this, and I'm usually explicitly setting the permissions. So that's something interesting to know, and that might be a question. That very well could be a question on the cloud practitioner exam about, you know, permissions about setting up a bucket. I don't know. That's pretty interesting. Good to know. Definitely good to know here. So things can be public, but they're not public by default. Now there's no like the things that you, because of policy, there's no policy set, the things you put in here, unless you, I'm pretty sure unless you explicitly tell it that it should be public, they will not be public by default. And we're gonna see that in a little bit. We're gonna upload some stuff here and we will see if that is indeed the case. What's up, Sean? From Sean, yes, that is, it's very annoying if you, yes. Oh, actually, so you can, if you're having trouble doing a lot of stuff locally, you can also do this stuff from that server that we set up. If you set up an EC2 instance, you may have to give it a proper role, but you can also do it from there. If you're on Windows and you're like, I don't really want to do it from here, I want to learn some of the Linux stuff, you can log into your server and do it from there. But you do, because we used Ubuntu, you do have to install the AWS CLI manually. If we had used Amazon Linux, I think we would have had to enable it, but it would have been there a little bit easier to do. So that's a good find though. Now you know. Now you know. That's a good talking point too, like especially when you're interviewing for cloud things, like just, some of the things, maybe if you're just talking through your learning process, it's something that surprised you. It's something that indicates that you actually went in and you were trying to learn something and you know about this stuff. So just, keep that in mind. That's something good to talk about. Do you think the developer associate is the best one for learning or using CLI type stuff? Yeah, either the developer or the sysops. I think it's about equal from what I remember. But yeah, I think developer is fine for that stuff. If you want to incorporate some of the CLI stuff into your learning, they do ask you a fair amount of things about that. Okay. So where were we at now? We looked in, we saw the permissions, and it did not get the permissions I thought it was going to get, but it does apply some default permissions. And that's how you create a new bucket. I actually don't know what this was supposed to be. I think it was supposed to be someone summoning something, like creating something from the ground. I don't know. This is a bad gift right here, but I'm leaving it there so it can shock and awe you. It's really odd. I kept looking at it. I was like, why did I put that there? But it's there. I know at the time I was like, this is gonna be great, but I don't know what it means now. Next one, we're gonna get to this quick. This is nice, and we're gonna have time to mess around with our CloudFront stuff, which is gonna be fun. So you can create a bucket, but can you remove a bucket? And maybe you don't want to do this right now, but yes, the same way that you just created a bucket, we can use the RB command, which is remove bucket. So make bucket, remove bucket. This is something that you can do. AWS S3 RB. So be careful about this. Why should you be careful? Because as you know, that the namespaces for S3 are universal, and that they can only exist once. So well, not only exist once, but once you delete it, it's open for someone else to grab, and they can grab it. And so just you may not be able to get it back. So make sure when you're deleting a bucket, it's something that you really want to do. One important thing, this is a great talking point. This is an exam question for sure. I've seen this on multiple exams. But when removing a bucket, the bucket must be empty for you to run this RB command. It must be empty first for the above command to work. You can still run it, but you must add a flag, a force flag to delete it. So let's do this. Let me see if I have any. I know I have some random buckets in here I can delete. So let's look at that really quick. In here, I have this. I'm gonna leave. I can delete both of these actually, and I can delete this one. I'm gonna delete this bucket right here. This is old, really old, and it's something that I used for a serverless app on this channel actually. But we're done with that. We don't need this bucket. It's gonna break something. But something on the side I already know it's going to break. So I'm going to copy the name here. And the way that you remove a bucket is you do AWS S3 RB for remove bucket, S3:// and you paste in the bucket name. I got a long name here. I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to get an error. And it says, hey, remove bucket failed. I can't delete this bucket. An error occurred. The bucket is not empty. When calling the delete bucket operation, the bucket you try to delete is not empty. That goes along exactly with what I just said. And that is that you cannot delete it if it's not empty. So you must add the force flag. And the way that you add a force flag is to simply do -- force. They make it too easy. I wish that was on one line for you, but there are 2 dashes and the word force. You can also add it up front, I believe, but dash dash force is what it looks like. Let me make it smaller so it's on one line. That is what the command really looks like. And if I enter, it's gonna go through first and it's gonna delete all the files in there. So these are all of the objects that are in the bucket already. It went through and it deleted these things. It deleted all of them for me, and then it removed the bucket. So now if I clear this and I run AWS S3 LS again, that long name, this bucket right here, is no longer here. So I deleted it. You know, not crazy exciting, but there's an important thing that comes out of that, in that you cannot delete buckets unless they're empty. This is also true from the console. So if I go in the console here, I'm not going to delete a bucket, but it will not let me remove this bucket if I try to management, where is it, overview. No, actually I think I have to do it from this page. Never remember. Like if I try to click this and go to delete bucket, it'll ask me to delete it. I'm not going to type it just in case I'm wrong from the command line, and if I type in, you know, the bucket's name to delete it, it will actually give me an error saying, hey, the bucket's not empty, and it will give me the option to empty the bucket, which is right here. So you can easily empty a bucket. It is not quite so easy to empty a bucket via the command line. You really have to write a little script to do it, to be 100% honest. So it can be a little bit of annoying. So it is nice to have this option here. Good conversation about burnout. Let me tell you. Hold on, let me get to the top of this. Let me get to the top of this. Ooh, everyone's one day we need to take a day and just talk about, like, we do need to talk about the psychological aspects of coding, of the tech industry, like things you're gonna things you might run into, and kind of how different ways to cope and different ways to face those things, and not even just to cope, but different ways to address those things. Like you know, finally mental health is becoming something that is, you know, people are starting to see how important it is. And I think a lot of people in the industry have gone through so many phases of struggle that didn't necessarily have to happen. I think one of the misconceptions is that you got to go through those things. And I disagree. I think I completely disagree. And I think there are some ways to address some of those things. I think the best way is to talk about it, to talk about something that worked for me may not work for you. Something that works for you may work for someone else. And so it's good to talk about that, share that stuff. But do make sure you find some time and some space to, you know, clear your head, to have an outlet. Sure, it's okay to grind for a little while sometimes, you know, but you know, life's a balance. You can't do that stuff for long. Definitely can't do that for long. And if you are going to do a lot for long, you still need to have some grind balance. You need to grind a lot, and you also need to chill a lot, and find something that really, you know, helps you recover, for sure. Yes, that's what I was thinking, Aya. I was thinking summoning that S3 bucket. That was the one. That was definitely it. After you delete a bucket, how long does it take for that name to become available again? Great question. So normally it'll be pretty instant. It'll be pretty quick. I've never seen it take more than maybe 10 or 15 minutes, especially depending on, and sometimes it depends on how many objects were in that bucket. Yeah, like I said, I've never seen it take more than 10 or 15 minutes. I have seen it take that long before. I've seen it take 10 or 15 minutes. But I think I've heard stories of it taking, you know, people not being able to get it back after like a day. I forgot how long they say it might be, but yeah, they don't give you an exact time. But like I said, in my experience, my personal experience, buckets are usually available instantly after you delete it. And if not, because they had a lot of stuff in it, it might take 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes at the most, in my experience. Dang, yeah, you just, well, one, I'm glad you got to, oh no, you said you want to go home and see your family. Yeah, 100%. That definitely that's tough. I'm fortunate enough to live pretty close to my family. I see them pretty often, and so we've been doing some cookouts, like my parents are older. My mom has a compromised immune system. She has autoimmune disease, and so she takes it pretty seriously. And so they have a pretty nice patio. We sit out back pretty darn far apart, but I don't know. It's been kind of good. We did that for like Mother's Day and stuff. It's been helpful in making this suck a little bit less. Happy hour is a good idea. Maybe we should let's set up a happy hour. I like that. We should set up a happy hour. I do have I have a paid Zoom account if we're trying to do happy hour, but there is, there's that Zoom fatigue. Zoom fatigue is real. If you're on Zoom all day, like there's been some studies about it recently, and just like even when you're doing something that's not work related, what Zoom does to you. But I think we should definitely set up a happy hour. I would love to interact, talk with you all. That'd be pretty dope. Alt F4, thank you so much for the sub. Welcome again for the second month back. Shout out to Alt F4. Let's see, exclamation. Who I've quickly always said Prime is like the smartest dude ever, and I think Alt F4 is also equally as smart. The cool tools that he's building is pretty amazing. I'm pretty excited to kind of see it, check it out, and have a little bit of fun with it. Okay, let's talk. I'm down to day drink. Hey, I'm down to day drink as well. So we'll definitely let's hop into Zoom, Discord, set it up. Let's definitely set one up. I'll get a link together, and we'll find a day. Maybe we'll do some polls, and we'll hang out. Okay, so we removed a bucket. Again, be careful about removing a bucket. You can get it back if no one else wants it. So make sure you don't delete any high value buckets. There are people, just like people who hoard domains, there are people who sit on S3 bucket names. Not really all that important anymore. At one time it was a little more important than it is now. But there are people who just kind of, like if you really wanted to, you could run through and still mastermind everything that I may ever want. If you wanted to, no big deal. I know the guys from Cloud Guru, if you watch one of their courses, when they get to the S3 portions, they're always like, they've started to change the naming convention of what they type in so that people like mentally don't think to go steal all their stuff, because I'm pretty sure it happened. Like they were like, Cloud Guru test, and then I think he was trying a bunch of times, like a bunch of test 2, test 3, all taken because people basically copied what he put in there and had to get their own. So it's always pretty interesting. All right, so now let's talk about individual file operations. So what did we just talk about? We just did 3 or 4 quick things. We learned how we can see information from S3. So AWS S3 LS will list buckets, list all of the buckets that you have. If you should run that same command, but if you specify a bucket, then it will in fact display the objects that are in that bucket. So LS is a way to list information, list the things in your bucket, list the buckets that you have. We also learned that you can create a bucket from the command line using the MB command. Maybe I should start saying make bucket instead of create bucket, but AWS S3 make bucket, and you have to do an S3:// and then the name of your bucket. So our cool new bucket, and that would actually create that. It's probably already taken. Let's see. And we made it. So we have a new bucket here called our cool new bucket. And then if we want to delete that bucket, we can do RB, remove bucket. Will this work? Yes, it will. It'll work the first time because there's nothing in that bucket. We created it, didn't put anything in it, so remove bucket will work. If there was something in there, we'd have to run the -- force command to make sure it removes all the objects in that bucket. So very important topic. You can only remove a bucket if it is empty. All right, now let's talk about individual object operations. So I put file operations here, and what I really mean is object operations. What are objects? Every piece of data in your S3 bucket is in fact an object. And let's talk a little bit about object operations, and let's actually change that. So we are using the terminology that matters. Object operations. So when you're thinking about your bucket being like a kind of a hard drive to kind of store your stuff, when you're thinking about it as like, you know, you're in the cloud thumb drive, your Dropbox, how do you get files from your computer to Dropbox? I mean, not to Dropbox, to S3 using the CLI. And you could, these are the two ways to do it. And I know this looks a little funky, but it's simpler than you think. And it also uses Linux command paradigm. So to copy a file in Linux, it is the CP command, and that's the same thing here. So if you want to copy something from your local computer to the S3 bucket, this is how you would do it. So AWS S3, and the command that we're going to use is CP, it's copy. And then you're going to tell it the thing to copy, so the source that you want to copy, and then you're going to give it the destination. So you're going to type in AWS S3 CP, the file that you would like to copy, and the place that you want that file to go to, the bucket that you want that file to go to. So let's see that real time. It'll make more sense when you see it real time. So let's actually go into our pictures. And there shouldn't be anything crazy in my pictures because this is a, you know, there's nothing in my pictures. So that's kind of boring. Let's get something into pictures. Let's go justinmaller.com/wallpapers. Let's get some stuff in our pictures, just for fun. You know, we want to have some sweet wallpapers. You know, it's pretty exciting. Let's get a little bit of Skeletor here. We'll save this. Why does this should be going faster? Come on. Save image as. Put it in pictures. Save Skeletor. Let's also save. Who do we want here? We want a Stormtrooper. Let's do that. If anyone it's actually really funny. Does anyone listen to the podcast Mission to Zix? If you haven't, and you like dumb funny podcasts, it's a good one. It's like a what's it called when you? It's like a live, like improvised. It's an improvised but edited show about like a play on Star Wars, and there's a character called AJ. And this is exactly what I think of when I think of AJ. He's funny, probably the funniest character in there. I would check it out though. Mission to Zix. I didn't think it was something that I would like until I gave it a try. Let's get one more. Let's get the Hulk in here. Save image. Okay, here we go. We have 3 things that are in our picture folder now. So with that, we can learn how to copy some things there. So we got our 3 things here. The way that you do this, yes, that is it. Mission to Zix. It's surprisingly funny. Facets LA is I think Facets is this guy, isn't it? Isn't Facets dot, I'm pretty sure it's Justin Maller as well. Yeah. This is a person. I didn't know. I know he called these like Facets something. I think you can buy these, can't you? Oh, 1 image per day for 365 days. Interesting. I need to go through these because I've never seen all of these, and I love this. This guy's work. This is definitely my art style. All right, so let's go back down. Now we're gonna copy up the Skeletor file up into our S3 bucket. So how do we do that? We just made an S3 bucket called Mastermind Backup. If we weren't sure what we called it, how can we find out? We can find out by doing AWS S3 LS, and look through here, and I made one called Mastermind Backup. How do we copy this there? So what we do is we do AWS S3 CP. So CP is the copy command, and for copy command in Linux as well, the way that it works is the command copy, the source, and then the destination. That is the order. So copy the thing that you want to copy, which is the source, and then the place that you want to copy it to. That is the order in which the copy command works in all places. So AWS S3 CP, I want to copy the WP Skeletor file. So I'm gonna type in that WP Skeletor. That's my source. That's the file I want to copy, and I want to copy it to the bucket Mastermind Backup. I want to back this file up. and I'm gonna hit enter here, and check that out. It's gonna say uploading. It's gonna tell me what file it's uploading, and it's gonna tell me where it's uploading to. It's uploading this file to S3 Mastermind Backup. And so it gives you basically the URL, the S3 URL for this, or URI for this. So if I do this, if I do AWS S3 LS and I paste this in, I can see that this file is in fact in the S3 bucket now. So pretty simple, pretty simple. So you copy it, you copy the file to the bucket that you want to copy it to. You can also specify, like maybe we didn't want this to be called Skeletor. I could also tell it where to copy it to. So like I said here, AWS S3 CP, copy this file, S3 Mastermind Backup. I could like give it a new name or something if I want. So I can call it like Skeletor.jpg or something. And so that will still do it. So now there's two of these here. And if I do an AWS S3 LS, Mastermind Backup, I have two files in here. They're the same file. This is the same file size, but the second time I copied it, I gave it a new name. So you can do that. I wouldn't worry about giving it a new name right now. I wouldn't worry about that, but I would worry about just knowing that you can copy using the CP command. You can copy a single file to this bucket. This does only work for single files with a star. I think I put an asterisk by this. Let's see, did I put an asterisk by it? Yeah, I did. Check that out. It only works for single objects. So if I were to have a folder, let's say I did this right here. Let's say I put all these things in a folder. I'm gonna put all these files in a folder real quick with my Linux commands. So not important to remember, but if you want to get better at Linux, you can do this. So I'm gonna make a directory called wallpapers, and I'm going to move star.jpg. So all of the JPEG files, I'm going to move them into wallpapers. And if I do an LL here, now I just have this wallpapers directory here. So that copy command is for individual objects. What happens if I try to copy this wallpapers folder here? So if I do AWS S3 CP wallpapers, I try to copy that to Mastermind Backup. It fails. It fails. It says, hey, I'm getting a parameter validation failure. I'm invalid length for parameter key value 0, invalid range 1 to infinity. That's because wallpapers is a folder with more than one thing in it, and copy can only do, it's only for a single object. Now, there is a way to copy these up. And the way that you can do this is to tell the copy command to copy things up recursively. Recursive, the true definition, let's look up the true definition. I'm gonna take a stab at it first because this is the most fun part of my day, when I do my best to tell you something that I understand what it means. I really do understand what it means in terms of all these things, but I don't ever know the exact definitions. So let's try this out. Recursively means it means taking place through all levels. It means thoroughly traversing all levels. Let's try that. Let's see what it means. Let's see what that actually means. Recursive. Well, no, that's not what it would mean, because I'm thinking about it in terms of this, but we can think of recursive functions being called inside of themselves. So let's see what it means. Let's see what it means. Characterized by recurrence or repetition, relating to or involving repeated application of a rule or definition. So what doing CP recursively will do is it will repeat the command, and it'll repeat the command basically for each of the files in the folder. So the way that recursive actions work in terms of Linux is that it will go from the location that you're at now deeper into the tree. It will only go down into the tree and not up. So what does that mean? It'll go down into every folder that's inside the one I specify. So if wallpapers had more folders and stuff inside of it, it would do wallpapers and everything below it, but it would not do things above it. So it can be a little bit interesting, but Recursive just means repeating. Looks like repeating an action. And so it will do that. So I can add in a dash recursive flag here, and it will in fact copy up all those files. And you can see here, it copied all those things up. And it actually just put them in the root directory. So if I do an AWS S3 LS, what did I call this? I keep forgetting the name of it. Mastermind backup. You can see that all of these things are here, but the wallpaper folder isn't there. It didn't move the wallpaper folder there. It moved all the things in the wallpaper folder to my S3 bucket. So just something to know about. I'll show you how to do folders later. We're gonna learn how to do folders shortly. So I'm sure there are questions. Can't make a bucket. Apparently there's a naming convention to follow. Yes, there is a naming convention. I want to say we put it in the thing last time as well, but it looks like we have the link there. Yep, there are naming requirements for that. But Sean, the things that you're running into, this is what these things are what learning, that's what learning is. These are the things that give you such, they make it so much easier to talk about when you're, talking to someone for an interview or something about the services and things that you've used. These experiences are what really help. And like, even if you did remember that there was a naming convention, you wouldn't remember what it was. I have no idea. I have no idea what the naming convention is. I know that there are rules, and therefore I think I just keep my names as simple as possible. I think because I know you can have dashes in there, like I'm already sure of that because I've done that paradigm before. I just stick with that paradigm. But yeah, I would, Can you do copy dir one? Oh, maybe. That's a good question. First dir second, I do not think so. I think you have to use the recursive function that I just used. Okay, so let's keep moving a little bit here. So that copied us some more stuff up to the bucket. That's great. And so that's how I copy stuff to the bucket. What if I wanted to get something from the bucket? So let's say, whoops, I accidentally blew away. So this is the bucket that I just created is a backup bucket. I'm using it to back up my files. Let's say something happened and I'm like, oh no, I blew away all of my pictures. I need those. Those are very important to me. I don't know how to get them back. I need those images, but I lost them. But luckily they're in my backup folder. How do I get them from the bucket to my computer? And the way that you get them from the bucket to your computer is the same way you got them there. The same way you got them up to the bucket. You use the copy command, but you copy them. Remember that now the source is different. The source is different and the destination is different. Before, the source was the file on your local computer and the destination was the bucket. Now the source is going to be the bucket and the destination is going to be your local computer. So let's try that again. Let's go. First, let's see what's in the bucket. And it's S3 LS. And I might say, all right, I don't want everything right now. I just want my favorite image, which is going to be the Skeletor one. I'm going to do AWS S3 LS. I'll put this, let's do it. Mastermind backup. And I want to see what's in here. And I'm like, all right, it's called Skeletor.jpg. I know that's the one I want. So I want to copy CP. I want to copy this file from this bucket. So I need to put the full bucket path in here. So I need to say mastermind backup / Skeletor.jpg. This file that's in this bucket, I want to copy that, and that's the source. The destination is here. How do I say right here? How do I say my computer? I could give it the full path to where I want it to go. So maybe if I wanted to go to my documents, I could do something like /home mastermind documents, and I can put it there. Or if I'm already in the directory that I want to put it in, I should do a dot. The dot is a reference point for right here. It's for right where I'm at now. So this is S3. Copy this file from this bucket, and this file, copy it to right here on my computer, and I hit enter. And it downloads, and now I have these things. I have this file here. So if I look at my pictures, look at that. I have Skeletor JPG right here, even though I deleted it before. And I can hop right into files, and I can go into pictures, And check that out. I have Skeletor JPG right there, and we're gonna make this our wallpaper because that's fun and exciting. And look, you know, there it goes, straight from the S3 bucket. That's where we got it. So easy, easy, easy. What's up, Ergo 404? You are found. We just found you. Your name's right there. So welcome. Good to have you. We're just copying around some files from our S3 bucket. Okay, so we copied that from the S3 bucket to our local computer. Again, CP, so copy, source, and then destination. Again, this is the same as the Linux copy command. If I wanted to copy Skeletor.jpg somewhere else on my computer in Linux, I would just do copy Skeletor. And let's say I want to copy it to my documents. I will give it the path to documents, which for me is back one directory and documents. And that will now, if I look at what's in documents, so if I cd:/documents, Skeletor.jpg is now here. So that follows the same copy command. Copy the source that you want to copy, the destination that you want to copy it to. That is how the S3 one works as well. I was told I just had to use FTP after that one, give the terminal and just use FTP. You cannot FTP to S3, I don't think. It shouldn't be a thing. I prefer SCP over that, to be honest, because I do not want to install the FTP server. And you can still FTP from the terminal as well. Dropping prod database on accident, check, check, check. Hey, we've all done it. I've dropped prod databases. It's okay, you know. You learn, you live and you learn. You know, maybe you'll get fired. I didn't get fired, so. Periodic backups is now automated backups. So what we're doing now is great because you can actually, if you're willing to, if you don't want to use a service, you can now set up some automation because you know how to use the AWS CLI a little bit. You can set up some automated backups every night to copy things from certain directories, maybe your documents and stuff, up to S3 so you can have them to be stored. And so I'm actually going to be using this bucket for exactly that. I'm actually going to set up some automated tasks to do that. I have some stuff saved elsewhere, but this is going to be for very important things that I don't want to, that I want to have in a third location. So it's not going to be for everything, but it's going to be for some very important things that, like I said, you know, for catastrophic failures, I just have easy access to it as well. Okay, on to the next. That's copying to and from a bucket. And you might say, oh, that was kind of annoying. So deleting a file from a bucket, actually, I thought we were gonna do sync first. Well, let's do a delete. Let's delete first. So you can remove stuff from the bucket as well. And again, that's just like the Linux command. So S3 is really nice because it's dealing with objects. They give you a lot of the same Linux commands. So to remove something in Linux, or to delete a file or folder, it's RM. Same thing in the bucket. So AWS S3 RM, and then the full path to that to the file that you want to delete. So if I want to delete the Skeletor, you know, file from the bucket, AWS, let's do this. Skeletor is in the bucket. Maybe I want to, let's say I want to delete the Skeletor file so that all the other files are the same. I can keep it clean. The way I would do that is I would do AWS S3 RM. So that's for remove. And then I would give it the full path. So S3:// the name of the bucket, mastermind backup / Skeletor.jpg. And go ahead and hit enter there, and it lets me know that, hey, I went ahead and I deleted this file. Now, real quick, just to kind of go back and cover some of the things that we learned. When I put this up, when I uploaded this to the bucket that first time, what kind of consistency did it have? It had read after write consistency. What does that mean? That means as soon as it was written up to S3, if I were to try to read it, if I were to try to request it, I would get it, no problem, pretty immediate. But I just did a delete. A delete is a little bit different. Delete consistency is actually eventual consistency. Any updates, any deletions are eventual consistency. And while this is, I'm sure this is gone, If I look at it again, this file is gone. It is possible that you would see it, or that if you requested information about it, you would still receive information, because again, deletes are eventually consistent. Just super something, like, it's really something important for the exams. They do ask you about eventual versus read after write, but that file is in fact gone from here. Like I said, it'll almost always be instant, but there are times when it won't, especially when you're doing some automation and your computer's doing stuff way faster than you can do it as a human. That is when you'll see it the most. Okay, let's go on to the next piece. So copy up with the CP command, or copy down to your computer also with the CP command, and then you can remove a file with the RM command. Now, the next thing, sync files and directories. So this one is fun. This one is always surprising for people when they find out that this is something that you can do in Linux. A lot of people don't know about this, but I said, like rsync, S3 sync will update new or changed files and remove deleted files from the destination. So what it will do is it will sync directories. So if you use this instead of copy, instead of copying a file up or down, it will sync the source that you put with the destination. So it'll sync all the files, and by syncing, it means that it will fix the things, like if there are new files in there, it will update the things that aren't there, and it will remove things that are not in the source if you tell it to. And actually I probably need to change that, but if you tell it to, but it syncs two things. It's, you know, it's the sync that you know about, that you're used to. And so you can do that. You can do this the same way. And this is actually what's used generally to do directories, because it's a little bit easier to do it this way, depending on your use case. But it follows the same flow. It's just sync instead of CP, and it is source and then destination. So to copy from local up, I can do my source, then my destination. And if I want to do from the bucket to my local, I do the source, which would be the bucket in this case, to the destination. And so this is how I can copy up an entire directory, or I can copy everything that's in here down. So let's see how that works. Let's go back into pictures. Let's say I'm gonna remove this. Let's say, all right, I got a new computer, brand new computer. I have none of my wallpapers on here, none of them, but I know they're in S3, but maybe I have hundreds of them. Maybe it's not just those three, maybe I have hundreds of them in here. And I say, all right, I'm gonna make a folder here on my computer to hold all my wallpapers. And I wanna get everything that's in my S3 bucket down to my computer. I can do AWS, S3, LS, Mastermind, backup. And I can say, cool, here are all of my wallpapers that I have saved and backed up. And like I said, imagine there are hundreds here instead of just three. And it would be very annoying to do an AWS, S3, CP, and CP each of those things. So the way that I would do this is I would say, cool, let me go ahead and let me sync this. And I can say AWS, S3, sync, and then the source. So the source is going to be the bucket, Mastermind, backup, and the destination is going to be right here. I want it to sync the bucket to right here. And if I do this, it downloads all the files. So if there are hundreds of files in here, it will download the hundreds of files. And now all of those are on my local computer. All these files are now on my local computer for me to access and to change my background to whatever I like, because you gotta switch up your background often. You gotta keep it fresh, super nice. And so that's how you can use sync. So I can do something like this as well. Let's say I'm keeping my files in order, and I say, all right, you know what, I'm no longer using the Skeletor. I'm no longer, Skeletor did something crazy in the media, said something terrible in the media, and everyone canceled Skeletor. Skeletor is now canceled, and I agree. And I say, I'm done with Skeletor. Never doing nothing with Skeletor again. Skeletor is dead to me. And I say, no more Skeletor wallpapers. And I say rm-rf wp _ Skeletor. And I remove that file, and I say, I don't want it to be a part of my collection anymore. What I can do now is I can sync this upwards. So let's go to that sync command. And all I have to do is switch this around. I have to say, hey, go ahead and sync everything that's right here upwards. And so I can hit enter here, and you're actually gonna see nothing's gonna happen. The reason nothing happened is because when I ran the sync, it says, hey, I see this file, I see this file. They are already up in the bucket. Even though the Skeletor file exists, the way that you delete stuff is, you know, they don't want you accidentally deleting things. So you have to add a flag, which is a delete flag. And this says do a real sync, like do a true sync. Make sure that the source directory and the destination directory are exactly the same. Sync them up. So if I add a delete, check this out. It says delete, and it deleted my WP Skeletor from the bucket. Because I no longer have it locally, which is interesting. So it's kind of nice. This is what you would use if you were trying to do a true backup of your computer, trying to keep a true one-to-one backup of what's on your computer. You would use a command like this, sync -- delete, and that would make sure, you know, it would follow all the files, get rid of orphan stuff that you don't care about anymore. And if we look at the bucket again, we can see now there are only 2 files in here. So, you know, it's a cool way to do stuff. Yeah, S3 Sync is dope. Definitely dope. Unless you're doing standard IA, which only has the 1 AZ. Yes, Boba Cat. Lambda is fantastic for automation while controlling costs. Yes, Lambda is, but it really is. I'm a huge Lambda fan, but managing Lambdas can be tough, and the concept of Lambdas is gonna be frustrating. Gonna be a little bit tough to pick up, but it is. So I can have Git functionality now. Kinda, yeah. I mean, a little bit. Can Mac users use wallpaper? Yes. Really? I mean, on my Mac, my work Mac, which I don't actually use right now, at least because I'm at home. I use wallpapers. But it's yeah, that's fair. So what if there are files that are named the same, but the contents of them are different, causing a size difference? Great question. Let's do that right now. Perfect. Let's do that right now. So right now, locally we have these 2 images here, and let's do this. Let's do a let's make a file. Let's vim you know, our file .txt, and in our file .txt you say, hello, we are testing out what happens when you have files of the same name but different sizes, period. Okay, this is going to be actually an interesting test. There's one case here that I'm not sure what happens, so we're going to test them all out real quick because this is a fantastic question. So a part of this, we have a file as well. So obviously, if I do a sync, if I sync this back up, let's run our sync command again. It's going to put our file up there. It uploaded the file that we just created. Now, let's do something like this. Let's vim our file.txt. This is the first case. We're gonna update this file. We're gonna copy this. Whoops. And we're gonna paste it a bunch of times. So there are way more things in this file. This is a brand new, this is like a file that now has more stuff. So at first, this was 96 bytes. Now this file is much larger at 2.6K bytes. So a lot more bytes. So it's a much bigger file. Let's run the sync again. Same file, bigger, and newer timestamp. Let's do it again. And it uploads. It does in fact upload. So it puts the newer file there. Now let's check the next case. Let's update the file in the bucket so that the file in the bucket is newer than the file locally. And then let's try to sync that up. I know that sounds confusing, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna update the file in the bucket real quick. So we're gonna make a copy of this file real quick. Our file.txt to our file.txt.main. So ignore that. I'm gonna make a copy of this file real quick. I'm gonna modify this file again. Up top, I'm gonna put this is a new file, just so we know this is a different file. I'm not gonna sync this directory. I'm gonna put this new file in the bucket. I'm gonna put this brand new file in the bucket. It has a newer timestamp, so I'm just gonna copy it. CP our file.txt, and I'm going to copy it to the bucket, which is mastermind backup. So it should overwrite the one that's currently there. So oops. Okay, so put that up in the bucket. It's up there in the bucket. So if I do another S3 ls, it should only be one file there. There's only one file, our file.txt is there. Okay, and we can actually look in here to make sure this is the one that I just updated. Let's make sure it is first, because I actually want to see what happens here, because I'm pretty sure I know the way that this works, but I'm not sure it works the same as rsync or not. So I want to confirm. And if whoa, why is it showing no stuff here? Okay, our file.txt, if I download it real quick, I'll download it to documents real quick just to make sure I know what's in it. I want to know what's in it. This is a new file, so this is the one we edited. All right, now what just happened, what I just did is I made it. So actually, let me do this first. I'm going to remove the file that we just edited, and I'm going to move this back to the main name, to our file.txt. Okay, here's the scenario. Here is the scenario. The file that is on our computer right now, look at the timestamp. The timestamp is 8:24. All right, but the timestamp of the one in the bucket is going to be 8:25. So the one in the bucket is newer. So let's say someone else updated the file that's currently in the bucket. What happens if we try to sync the bucket again with our stuff when the stuff in the bucket is newer? Let's see what happens when that happens. So let's try to do that. And remember, our file locally does not have that top line that says this is a new file or whatever. So let's try to sync again. And what it did, that's interesting. That's not what I thought it would do. What it did though, is it did upload this, it uploaded this file. So what it'll do is, it's not even checking the timestamp. There are ways with rsync to check the timestamp. Maybe there's a way with sync here to check the timestamp. It's just checking to see if the files are different. So basically it's doing a diff. It's basically diffing. It's checking if there are any differences between the file that I have at the source and the file I have at the destination. And if there are differences, it'll just overwrite that file. So now the file that is in the bucket, if I download this file again, it will now no longer have that line at the top. It will match what we already had. So yeah, so if they're different, same name, if they're different, it's going to copy whatever's in your current directory. So be careful with that. Yes, the delete flag overrides the default behavior. Oh, maybe that, I don't think so. That's a good question. We can do that again, actually. We can do that again. I do not think so. All the delete flag does is if the file does not exist, if a file does not exist at the destination, it will remove it. So the delete functionality should not, that's the only default behavior that it overrides, is that it does a sync, but it deletes files that do not exist in the source. So that's what it did. Yeah. I am on the newest version of Ubuntu. I'm on Ubuntu 20.04. I am a Keyline TV. I'm a Shift ZZer. I'm not a WQer. I'm a Shift ZZer. Can't help it. I learned about X from you guys last time. I learned about :X from you, and I appreciate you telling me about that. But I cannot change my ways. I can't change my ways at all. But yeah, I'm using the newest version of Ubuntu. I'm probably going to switch to Pop! OS. I really wanted to try out Ubuntu 20.04 before Pop! OS 20.04 came out. So I'll probably switch eventually. But yeah, I'm definitely not using Emacs. For sure not using Emacs. I mean, I'm sure Emacs is great in its own right. I've used it before, but not my cup of tea right now. Okay, now that should be all of these commands. Yes, that's all the S3 commands that we're going to learn. There are many more S3 commands that you can do, but you're probably not going to use any of the other ones. Like, these are kind of the main ones. Like, really, if you can just get S3 down, like S3 LS, you can get LS down, and you can be able to just see the files you want and copy and maybe sync, you're kind of good to go. You can do pretty much everything you want to do with those. Yeah, I've been able to do, like, I know people who didn't know how to delete things, so they would sync the files down, delete the stuff they wanted to delete, and then sync it back up. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty darn good way actually of deleting things. But yeah, you can kind of get by with just a few commands. On my day-to-day, I deal with S3 all the time, and the 3 commands are really, I only, like, for the most part, I'm using either LS, CP, or sync. Like, honestly, that's generally what I'm using if I need to interact with S3, so don't sweat it. Yeah. Yes, this is Linux, this is Ubuntu 20.04 in VirtualBox, 16 gigs of RAM, Ryzen 3950. I think I only gave this, it's interesting, it's given it all of my computer specs. I that's interesting. Oh, actually 16 core times, oh yeah, I only gave it 8 of them. Yeah, but there we go. Now you got some information about my computer. This does not run as well as I thought it would. Like, just the VM, I'm sure Ubuntu runs fine, but with the amount of power that I've given it, it's a little sluggish. But it's all good. I think I'm spoiled by my Linux laptops, which I may go back to. I might actually go back to using my actual laptop to do it. But cool. That's it for the AWS CLI tonight. The reason, we went over it for 2 reasons, not necessarily because you need to interact with S3 that way. I think S3's CLI commands are easier to get into and a little more usable in your daily life than any of the other commands. Like, every day you're not going to need to spin up EC2 instances. You're not going to need to, you know, manage CloudFront or anything like that every single day. You know, when you're trying to learn this stuff. But S3 is a practical item that you can use. Again, setting up a little quick website for yourself, setting up, you know, a backup like I just did, for you to use. Like, these are things that you can practically use daily without having to have some big infrastructure to mess with. And so it's a good way to kind of dive into the CLI, pretty safe way to dive into the CLI. And once you start to get comfortable with one service, you basically become comfortable with every service. Every service kind of operates similarly. You know, you'll get comfortable with calling the service, a command, and passing in some little extra flags. You don't need to be a CLI pro today. No big deal. Just wanted to get some practice in. And we'll be doing some more practice as we go along. But, you know, just getting our feet wet here with the CLI. Now, we are on to a new concept. Let's take a little break here. Let's grab some water. While this is, we're gonna set up CloudFront today, which I've never done from the CLI before, but let's have some fun with it. We're gonna talk about it. I think the concept is interesting, and I think the concept is interesting. I'm gonna show you guys exactly how it works. The goal is not necessarily to know specifically what CloudFront is today, even though we are going to cover everything that's involved in CloudFront. The goal is to understand what a CDN is and how it works, and we're about to talk about that, so don't sweat it. So grab some water. I think I'm almost done with my coffee, even though it's cold now. It's not cold. Oh, that was gross. It's I'm a child. That like really splashed me. It's like room temperature plus 2 degrees, and yeah, plus 2 degrees. Yeah, so this CPU, this build, oh man, I got coffee in my eye. This is a pretty powerful build, mainly, so I built this because last year, you know, I mean, I made a little money in my business, so it was nice. And I wanted to invest in the business side, and my goal was to make tons and tons of videos this year, which has not happened, but it's going to be happening. So I mean, the goal was to be editing tons of videos. I am exporting hours and hours of videos each week, so you know, I'm exporting like 12 hours of video each week, so I am getting some use out of it, and I do play games, but I'm not using it to its full potential yet. At all, but it's pretty nuts. It's a pretty crazy CPU, to be honest. I got like This computer is almost maxed out. Like all of my PCI ports are taken up with random stuff. I have 2 capture cards. I was using both of them. I'm only using one now. So if anyone needs a capture card, I have one. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. Never tried CloudFront via CLI ever. So we'll do a little bit. We will be touching the CLI for this, but like we're gonna do most of it from the console, but we will be using the CLI for some of this as well, to kind of just see what it looks like, to get information and to show you how it differs. Like S3 is a good intro also because the type of information that comes back is not JSON, whereas most other things you're gonna get tons of JSON, and JSON's hard to parse with your eyes, and there are tools to help you do it, but we'll do that. Capture card allows you to capture a video input into your computer, and people use them generally for playing games. I was using it whenever I use my iPad, so let's see if this works. I don't know if it's set up right now. I don't know if it's plugged in. Like if I go to my whiteboard, yeah, you can see here, I'm capturing my iPad. I'm capturing the image of my iPad through a capture card. It's going out of my HDMI on the iPad into the HDMI on the back of the computer, into that capture card, and then you can capture that image. That's how I was capturing my laptop before, but yeah, that's what a capture card does. PCIe is I don't know what PCI stands for, but it's the I don't know what PCI stands for actually. I think it stands for PC interface. I don't know. PCIe meaning peripheral component interconnect express. Yeah, there we go. It's how you're able to connect hardware and move data kind of on your motherboard. But yeah, it's just plugged into my computer. I don't know. Wired connection. I do have a wired connection. I have the jankiest wired connection ever right now, because when I had to move my setup from my office, I have an office, I had to move it from my office here. My office has crazy upload speeds. I have wired connection, all that stuff. When I had to move it here, I was actually, my internet's pretty fast, but like Wi-Fi is kind of weird. And I was dropping a lot of frames and stuff. I actually had a couple of huge network errors the first couple weeks I streamed. And so because Comcast is not sending people out right now, they only send people out if your internet's broken. I need my router moved from downstairs. I need my modem moved from downstairs up here. I need like the cable run. And so instead of like, I was gonna like drill a hole in the floor, we're renting this house. So I didn't want to like do anything crazy to run my Ethernet cable downstairs, so it is going out the window and in the window downstairs. It's pretty janky for now. I'm gonna make it permanent, you know. I have fast enough gigabit internet, but I had no way to get the Ethernet down there, so you know, it's a little bit ghetto, but it's okay, you know. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. It's called survival out here. It's been working, you know. Ethernet cables are strong. They survive the elements. I have one here for backup as well, but yeah, window wires, whatever. Like, come on, man, we're not perfect out here. We make it work. Make it work first, then what is it? Make it work, make it fast, make it right, or switch. I don't know. It's one of those three, but I know the first one is make it work. Make it work first, then make it fast, then make it right, or I don't know. Those last two might be switched, but okay. Now is the time to talk about CDNs and CloudFront. This is a, I don't want you to think about, so yes, I want you to think about a CDN as a technical topic and part of AWS. CloudFront is part of AWS, but this is more of a cloud solution. This, not even a cloud, this is just more of a solution. I want you to understand the solution that this provides once we're done with it, and hopefully help you understand why it provides that solution. That's the goal. So what is a CDN? A CDN stands for Content Delivery Network, and CloudFront is Amazon's service that provides this content delivery network functionality. That's what CDN stands for, Content Delivery Network. It is a network that delivers your content. So if you say it backwards, it's still a valuable thing. It's a network that delivers your content. What is it? It is geographically distributed groups of servers, which kind of sounds like what the cloud is anyway, which work together to provide fast delivery of internet content. These servers are called edge locations. Okay, so take a look at the image on the right. The CDNs, content delivery networks. How do you get content, again, around the world to different people? When someone from Australia over here has to request information from my computer, you know, that request has to go around the world and back, and that can be problematic. CDNs basically allow you to distribute your content to all of these nodes around the world. Excuse me, ooh, that last bit of coffee really hurt. And what it allows you to do is it allows these different nodes around the world to deliver your content for you and to make sure people have access to it. The key word here is geographically distributed. So again, these are specific places around the world. They might sound like regions to you. Yes, part of edge locations are part of AWS's global infrastructure. We talked about it in that a little bit, but in the AWS global infrastructure kind of talk we had, but that's basically what happens. Your content gets distributed to different servers around the world, so that one, more people can access it faster. And we'll learn about some of the other benefits. There are a lot of benefits to this, but yes, it's a way for you to deliver your content around the world or to specific geographic locations. Okay, so we're gonna break that down a little bit into the pieces that CloudFront needs. And actually, I wonder if it makes sense to do this first. Okay, let's actually do this first. Let's do how it works first. I don't know why I put this at the end. Let's actually move this up a little bit. Let's move this here. All right, how does it work? All right, so Cloud Search works and CDNs work. So other CDNs you may have heard of. Akamai is probably the biggest one, but you probably never heard of that. You've probably heard of Cloudflare. Cloudflare is the one that most people have heard of, if you've heard of a CDN before, of a content delivery network. And so again, CloudFront is AWS's solution for their cloud. How does it work? Cloud Search and CDNs period function by caching. So caching is the new word for the day. Or you can think of saving or remembering. It's kind of saving data. Remembering the very first request made to an origin, all subsequent requests will be served from the edge locations. Now, what does that mean? Let's break that down. And I think the reason I put this in the back is because I used the words origin and I used the words edge location stuff, and I wanted to make sure you knew what those were first. But I think it's important for us to talk about it first, and then we can contextualize it. So what happens is when you set up a CloudFront, you set up this network of servers that you don't care about. You don't know where they are. You don't care about those servers. You're not managing those servers. You say, hey, AWS, give me, a CloudFront. It's called a distribution. We're about to learn about that. But you say, hey, I want to use CloudFront for my site. I have a server sitting here, or I have an S3 bucket with a site, with a website on it that I want to be able to give to everyone. But I don't want to have to worry about managing this server. Let's go with a server example. Let's say we have an EC2 instance. And so basically you take CloudFront, you point it at your server, and then you point everyone else at CloudFront. So instead of pointing people at your server, you're actually pointing people at CloudFront. And what happens is, if I'm in Africa and I say, hey, I'm looking for Mastermind information, when I make a request to Mastermind's website, the very first person who makes a request, so in Africa, it will go to a one edge location. It'll find the closest edge location, and so that request will go through a different edge location than someone in, say, maybe Russia. They'll go to different edge locations. So the person in Africa says, all right, I want to get information from academy.mastermind.io. The first request that comes through goes to CloudFront. CloudFront says, hey, I know that I'm supposed to give you this data. I'm going to go to the server that the guy set up, that he set up, and I'm going to get you that information. And it's going to give that information from the website back to the person who requested it. Everyone else who's in that geographic location, everyone else who's in that part of Africa, will now, instead of getting the information from the server, that edge location will save the data. It'll save that request. It'll save the web page basically that comes back, and it'll serve that information directly from there. What does that mean? That means that if 1 million people from that area are trying to access my server, only one request will get made to my server, only a single request, and everything else will be handled by the edge location. So I have very minimal load on my server. My server doesn't need to be crazy powerful or anything, because all those requests are now handled by the edge location. And so first request is the only request that goes to the service, to the server. All subsequent requests are now saved and served from the edge location. It's a little bit confusing. We'll use the iPad in a second to go through it after we learn the different pieces. So first things first, let's talk about the different pieces of CloudFront in particular. CloudFront distribution. This is one instance basically of CloudFront. It says a distribution tells CloudFront where you want the content to be delivered from and the details about how to track and manage that content delivery. So CloudFront is a service. CloudFront is this thing, and a distribution is kind of the full setup that talks about, you know, where the information comes from and who it goes to and how people get that stuff. So we'll set up a distribution shortly. A CloudFront origin, pretty important. This is where the content lives. So a location where the content actually is coming from. So yeah, CloudFront is a thing that's going to distribute your content, but it needs to know where your content actually lives. It needs to know the server or the S3 bucket or the endpoint in which your content lives. And that's what an origin is. And you can have multiple origins. You can have your content being served from all different kinds of places. It doesn't have to be one location. You can be pulling content from a bunch of different places. And I'll show you how that works in a second. And yeah, that's just where it's stored. The reason I have this GIF over here is because this is My Hero Academia, and all animes are basically origin stories. So that is an origin. And we'll share this really quick. This tells you what your origins can be. It's pretty confusing, but I think it'll make more sense when we get into setting it up. Let's why is it showing like this? How do I full screen it again? Cache behavior. So, all right, so the distribution is actually like the big box. It's like everything. The origin is the place that the distribution will get, well, that the origin is a place that the distribution kind of gets data from. It's kind of the source of data. The cache behavior describes what and how content is cached in CloudFront. So again, the one of the big benefits of CloudFront is that it caches data and that it distributes data. Those are the two big benefits. It caches data and it distributes data. Caching is kind of saving and remembering, so that, you know, you don't have to keep processing requests. You can kind of just deliver a saved copy of that request. And I'm going to show you what that looks like and kind of what that means in a second. But a cache behavior is just, hey, when someone tries to get a certain piece of content, is it one, how long is it cached for? You know, what am I caching? How am I caching it? What pieces am I caching? And that's what a cache behavior is. TTL. So TTLs are pretty important here. Time to live. That's what it stands for. TTLs are a thing and way more things than just this. Time to live is a thing in DNS. Time to live is a thing in cookies. There is a bunch of stuff, but it's a setting for each cache behavior. Each of those cache behaviors that specifies how long CloudFront is supposed to cache that data for. So basically, how long is the saved copy of my site gonna live? Like, how long do I want it to live? Do I want it to live for 24 hours? Do I want you to save it for 10 days? Do I want you to save it for 5 minutes? How long do I want you to cache that data? And then that cache behavior will expire, you know, when the TTL is up. So if I tell it to cache for 24 hours, after 24 hours, that saved copy will go away, and then the next request will get a fresh copy, and then that new copy will be saved for 24 hours. We're gonna see that how that works in a little bit. And the last thing is, sometimes you need to clear the cache. Like maybe you made an update to the site, but if you make an update to the site, if there's cache data on your site, then people aren't going to see that update. So sometimes you need to clear the cache before it has died. And so that's called a cache invalidation. It's called a node invalidation inside of CloudFront. So yes, these are the concepts. I know I went through them really fast. I went through them really fast because I think it makes more sense when you contextualize it. So what do we need to know about CloudFront? Content delivery network, geographically distributed servers that are called edge locations. the big thing is, let's draw a picture. Let's see if we can get a picture drawn here. 1 second. Let's see if this works. Where's the pen? Oh, okay, let's lay this down. Let's go back to our whiteboard. Let's see, where's the whiteboard app on here? All right, now this time I'm going to try to remember to go back to between screens because I always forget. Okay, let's imagine this is your server. So I'm going to draw a little server here, and this is going to be your server with your website. Web, let's say web on it, so that you know this is your website. This is your web server, and normally people over here be sitting here at their computer on their laptop. This is a laptop right here, a terrible drawing of a laptop, but normally they'll be requesting your site and it will be going straight to the web server, and the web server will be giving information back to the user. Instead, this is what happens with CloudFront. Oh no, how do I delete stuff? Oh, this. Instead, this is what happens. You take CloudFront. I'm actually going to move the web server as well. Wow. You take CloudFront, your server, let's say your server sits, you basically take CloudFront and put it in the middle of everything. So imagine this is CloudFront. I don't know why I'm drawing it like this, and I don't know how I'm drawing sideways like this, but I'm proud of myself. Front. Yeah, that's CloudFront. All right, and imagine that sits in front of your website. And what it does is, this is your origin. So now this is your web server down here. And I'm gonna write web in here again. And this is gonna be your server. It has your website on it. www.yoursite.com. This is your server right here. And so what CloudFront does is the very first request, it does this. It says, all right, the request now comes through here. The person says, I want yoursite.com. It actually goes through CloudFront and said, the way that we do that is through DNS. That's how we pointed at CloudFront. But CloudFront says, hey, I don't know. I don't have any information about your site. So the very first request is going to go down here. That's only on the very first request. It's going to grab the information from your server. It's going to come back through CloudFront, and that's going to go back to the user. Now CloudFront is going to save this. It's going to save that information. And so now if anyone who's in the same place, if anyone, user number 2, who's the next door neighbor of this person, they now make the same request. This person calls this person and says, hey, check out this cool website that I see. You should try to check it out. They'll make this request to CloudFront. And instead of CloudFront going back down here on the second request, it comes straight back with all the information. So all the information is saved here. The great thing about this is that means that this request never makes it to your server, which means your server is not processing as many things. It means that your server does not need to be as beefy. Your server does not need to scale up as much because the request is coming straight out of here. And so let's say the time to live here was 2 hours. After 2 hours, the request would die, and then the very first person to make a request to CloudFront after that cache dies, CloudFront will say, hey, I don't have anything saved. It will make a request to this server, but it will make it one time. And after it makes it that first time, all subsequent requests will get that cache copy. So it makes it nice and simple. It's really nice. The pricing for it is interesting. It's pretty much free for most users for a certain amount. It gets pretty expensive once you start to get a lot of traffic. Well, not pretty expensive, but a little bit. But yeah, and so that TTL is important as well, but we're about to see that kind of real time. We're gonna look at my CloudFront distribution, and then we'll try to set one up real quick. I did TTL in February. Yeah, sorry we're late here. But yes, that is what CloudFront is, and it's super nice. And I'm gonna show you this first request concept really quick as well. So let's look through CloudFront, and maybe, what time is it? Maybe we won't set one up because we already have some set up. Global content delivery network, and again, it is in fact global. So how does it work? Right here is where you would have your distribution. So if I wanted to create a new distribution, I would simply create distribution here. So let's just go ahead and set it up. And what you would do here One good thing about CloudFront also is that it does also it terminates TLS here. So if you have servers and stuff, you don't need to set up what's that stuff called, SSL certificates or TLS certificates on your servers. But origin domain name, so this is just a the origin is just what we talked about. So the very first thing it asks you when you create a distribution, don't go through and do this. We don't need to go through and do this right now. I'm just gonna getting you introduced to it. It's basically saying, hey, set up an origin for me. Give me a location where your content lives. And so by default, it's gonna try to give me things that are inside of AWS. And so it works best with things that are inside of AWS, but not only with things that are inside of AWS. So I could point it right at a bucket. Remember, we put in one of these buckets, we put a site. There's a site in one of these buckets. I don't remember which one it is. I think it's this one, Horizon May 2020. I can set that up as an origin. And what this will do now is that is a place where it will go to get content now. Remember, that's what the origin is, a place where content lives. And so I can say, hey, I have a site that lives in this origin, in this bucket, and it will use that. And so there's a lot of options about headers and things. These are web. Oh man, I just said I was not gonna mess this up. I just said it and I messed it up. Is this it? Is that what we want? Yeah, there we go. Whack. And I went way too long without checking the chat. I'm sorry about that. The reason why I mess it up every time is because we don't use the whiteboard enough. We'll use it more. But yes, all I've done so far is I've gone to AWS, I've clicked on CloudFront, so I typed in CloudFront there, and it takes you to this screen right here. In here, I clicked create distribution. You can see here, I actually already have two set up. We're gonna actually use those, but if you create a distribution, you can kind of get started. The reason why we're not gonna go through every single thing with this right now and setting it up is because there are a lot of options here that I think are gonna confuse you about what it does. So maybe we'll set it up last with the site that we just created, but first let's cover the concepts. Actually, let's do that, and then we'll try to take the last 25 minutes or so and set one up ourselves. So let's take a look at the ones that I already have. So for the one for academy.mastermind.io, I have that running through CloudFront so that the world can retrieve my content. Okay, so when you click on it, it gives you some information. I have a distribution ID. I have an Amazon resource name here. So I have a bunch of stuff here, a bunch of information. And so what are the pieces here? This is my distribution. This is the kind of whole setup that takes care of the caching and the distributed setup for whatever project I want to work on at this time. So let's take a look at our origins and groups. So origin is a place where the data is coming from. Check this out. One of the origins that you can have is an S3 bucket. So you can use an S3 bucket for an origin, but I have a custom origin. And the reason I have a custom origin is because you have to use a custom origin whenever you are hosting a website at an S3 bucket. If you're hosting a website on, a server in Azure, you can actually use that as an origin. You don't have to make it something inside of AWS. You can set up any origin you want as long as it can be accessed over HTTP. And so I have an S3 bucket. This is my S3 bucket, bootcamp.mastermind.io. That is my origin. That's where the data is going to be coming from. It's my only origin. I can have many more origins. I can have lots and lots of origins here. And you might say, why would you need more than one origin if you only have one website? We'll talk about that in a second. And then behaviors. So these are my cache behaviors. I have a default behavior, and this tells it how long it tells it what and for how long to cache for. So I'm only allowing you to do two different things. You can only use two HTTP verbs on my site. I won't allow you to do anything else. And it will cache those things, and it will cache them for 3,000 max. It'll cache them for this in seconds. So what's that? 31,536,000 seconds. I have no idea how long that is, and I should probably make that shorter. 31 million 563 4 zeros. Would I want to divide that by 60? And then divide that by 60 again, and then that's hours, and divide that by 24. This may be terrible math. Yeah, maybe I did that completely wrong, but that seems like a lot of days if I did that properly. But don't sweat it. It's just for a long time. It's very long. The default GTL, so the default amount is 86,400. I want to say that's a week. 86,400 seconds divided by 60 divided by, that's what's that? That's minutes and hours. That's minutes and 24 hours. So default TTL is a single day. It's 24 hours. It's default TTL. And again, that's the time to live. So my time to live could be 31,000 at 31,536,000. Or maybe I did that wrong again. No, that's right. Or I did too many zeros. I did too many zeros when I did that before. No big deal. But this is one day. No big deal. Why so you might be saying, if this is a default, why is there a maximum and a minimum? So it's not, the problem is that it's not a raw amount of time. It's not, you know, the very first time it's requested, the timer starts, and when it's done, it ends. No, it actually gets reset with requests. It actually, the time can go much higher than the default, depending on how things are requested. It's an interesting concept. Don't need to talk about it right now. I think we will cover it in depth once we get to DNS. But yes, it gets it's a little bit harder for it's a little more complicated than a lot of people are like, I will first learn this and set a default timeout for a site that's heavily hit for 2 hours for the default, but the maximum's a lot higher, and 2 hours will go by and they'll be like, wait, it didn't refresh, like I'm not getting new content. And that's because it's not quite that simple. But knowing the time to live is the time that the cache will exist for is pretty important. But there's some other information here. Other information is important. The only thing I want you to know about is that this is the time that is cached, and it is in seconds. So that's my behavior. And there's some other things. Here's the invalidations tab. So this will allow me to basically clear the caches on my site. It'll allow me to clear the caches, and you can do it by path. So I can clear individual pages on my site if I want. So let's actually do that real quick. I'm going to go to my website, and I'm going to show you something interesting, and you can try this right now from your computer. Check out, I want you to try running curl, CURL dash capital I https://academy.mastermind.io. That is what I want you to run here. And I'll copy and paste this to you. You can try running that. So all curl is a command line utility to make web requests. The same way your browser makes web requests, curl makes web requests. And I told it to only give me back the headers. Like if I actually ran this without that -I would actually get the HTML for the page. And see right here, I'm getting back all the HTML. This is the actual code for the website in the in my terminal. So it actually made a web request and actually got a response back. But the I is nice because it just gives me header information. But check this out. Down at the bottom, but not in the middle, for Xcache, it says hit from CloudFront. This means that when my request went through CloudFront, it said, hey, there is a cached item here, and I'm going to deliver you that cached item. This tells me that the request that I got back never went to S3. It actually went to CloudFront and only got information back from CloudFront. It's a hit from S3. All of you will get a hit from S3 right now. Everybody will get a hit from S3. Everyone. Well, not everyone. Maybe not everyone. Maybe it's possible that you didn't, because this is from the edge location that I'm closest to. So whatever edge location I have around me, we'll get that. If you're at a different edge location and no one in that area has hit my site before, the very first request, you'll get a miss, and then you'll get a hit. Now, for a second, everyone chill out, everyone relax for a second, and stop hitting the site, stop curling the site. And actually, we'll pick a different page. Let's pick a different page real quick. Let's hit journeys. Let's not do the home page. I'll try Horizons. We're doing Horizons. Try that instead. And everyone stop hitting it for a second. So I got a miss. That's exciting. I got a miss from CloudFront, but now I got a hit. I immediately got a hit. That's interesting. I'm actually hurt that no one where I am is trying to hit Horizons. That's interesting. But I get this, the very next request, you get a hit. So I got a miss, then I got a hit. And now every time I run this, I'm gonna get a hit because now I'm getting saved data. So if I go to CloudFront and I clear the cache, if I go in and I say, all right, cache, I'm done with you. And why would you want to clear the cache? Maybe I pushed updates to the site. So if I made an update to my website right now, you wouldn't see it because Cloud Search has that data cached now, and you wouldn't see it until the cache expired, so that time to live was up. But I can go in and manually say, all right, you know what? I want to invalidate. Oh, actually, I didn't mean to do that, but I just ran an invalidation for the entire site. That takes a few minutes to run. Why does it take a few minutes to run? Because it's going to every edge location that I have enabled around the world. And it's clearing out all of the data that I have there. So now if I curl this again, the very first request should be a miss, and I gotta wait until it's gone, but the very first one is a miss. And so what that is telling me is that CloudFront says, hey, you asked for this data, I don't have a saved copy of this data, I'm gonna go back to the origin and I'm gonna get that data for you, and it gives it to me. And then every single request after that is going to be a hit. It's basically saying, hey, I have this data. You asked for this data, I have it. And it's always gonna say hit afterwards. So really nice. It's a really great tool. CloudFront is what it's what single-handedly saved the SBA, Small Business Administration, site from going down during all of the wildness when everyone's trying to get their money, where we got massive amounts of traffic, and everyone at the SBA was very excited about it. But it's because we use a tool like CloudFront in conjunction with AWS to be able to serve a lot of our stuff, which is really great. And so again, it makes it so that you no longer but it's a layer in between you and the rest of your resources. Now, there are ways for when you get massive amounts of traffic, every single request won't end up going through, won't get a cache hit. There's some intricacies there, but most of them will. And it allows you to not have to worry so much about, again, your scaling, like your auto scaling. You don't have to worry about having 400 servers, to manage the load. You have to have, you're still gonna have to have a little bit to handle the demand, but it's not nearly the same as you would need to be able to handle the type of traffic that CDNs handle for you. You would need a lot of stuff. So this is how Cloudflare works. This is how all the CDNs work. They distribute your data around the world, and they basically use a network of servers to deliver your data to the people who are closest to those servers. And again, the reason why you would want to use it is it makes it makes your site much more reliable, makes your site much easier to deliver data to people. It also makes your site faster for a lot of people, especially if you have a worldwide product or site, because the data is coming from the place that's closest to the person you're trying to give it to. Yeah. What caused the HTTP code to change? Oh, great question. What caused the HTTP code to change is that one is a 302 is a redirect. I'm actually not sure. I'll check that in a second. I think it might be sticking a slash onto the end. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening, and we can follow that redirect. Actually, yes, it's so 302 is an HTTP status code. This is a redirect, and what it's doing is it's adding the slash back on. So I went to this one without the slash. It's returning this, like saying, hey, I know you asked for no slash, but this needs to have a slash on it. And that's a configuration that I have in there. So if I do a slash, if I actually add the slash, it doesn't need to redirect because that's what it wants. So you get a 200, and that 200 is the status code for, okay, like everything worked out. And so I think I gave you a link on status code. We talked about web servers. Status codes are important. You'll pick them up over time. The most common one you probably all know of is 404, page not found. So if I were to go to, if I were to try a page that doesn't exist, and I went to Horizon / some duty, I get this 404. That is an error code for page not found. And so I get an error from CloudFront instead of a hit or a miss. So no, this is not Nginx. There's no there's no web servers here. This is CloudFront. CloudFront is handling all this underneath. I didn't know any of that. A low-key SBA Go folder after an Aws command. Yeah, I have a lot of SBA stuff. It's actually fun that I don't have to worry about like not showing my work stuff, because the SBA is one of the most kind of forward technically facing government organizations. It's actually nothing, because it's because my VM and not my personal computer. But like, again, our main site is open source. We have a lot of open source tools that you can check out, a lot of stuff for Terraform, a lot of things that we've open sourced for use. So I don't really, most of the stuff I work on, I don't have to hide it from you. And one day I'm actually gonna try to find out how much I can show, and maybe it will be nice to actually see to actually run through a production like infrastructure, like as much as we can. Maybe I'll have to fake a bunch of data, maybe I'll have to, you know, mock some services out, but it may be worth it. I'll find out how much I can show, and maybe it'll start to contextualize what something like that looks like in the cloud. Might be kind of nice. But yeah, that is kind of what CloudFront does for you. And again, you could, we're actually not going to take the time to set one up. And again, the only reason we're not going to take the time to set one up is because there are a number of settings in here that are going to be confusing to kind of figure out. I would recommend, and I don't even think I think there's something that we'll end up setting up one in pipeline. So if you're interested in that, we'll probably be setting up CloudFront in pipelines, or I think we'll set one up in the intermediate version of this course, because I think it'll be a little more important, because we'll dive into a lot of these settings a little bit more. But it's not essential for the cloud practitioner exam to know all these little things, and I actually don't think most of it is even all that important for the associate level exams, but understanding what it is important for sure. But yeah, that's what it is. I think that's so I actually only have mine set up for, let's look at pricing really quick for CloudFront, because I think that's important. Mine is, I only have mine for US, Canada, and Europe. I'm going to change that actually. I actually didn't expect anyone outside of the US and Canada to be watching my streams, to be honest, when I first set this up, but there are people from a lot of places watching it, so I will set that up. I went as a 4-4 page for Halloween. I might have to try that out. I'm gonna have to do a tech related Halloween costume this year. You guys utilize a lot of chaos engineering for SBA stuff? No. So yes, chaos engineering is very interesting. And I actually think it's something that might be fun to, I'm not a chaos engineering pro, and I've been thinking about ways to start trying to dive into things that like I know nothing about on here that we can kind of learn together. But I think it would be interesting after pipelines to take some of that infrastructure, set it up at scale a little bit, and see how it responds to chaos engineering. People don't know chaos engineering is a form of it's really a way of testing your infrastructure, a way of testing your resiliency, a way of testing your scalability, a way of testing how your systems respond to failures. It's pretty interesting. You can set up these test cases where it'll actually blow away and break pieces of your systems, and that generally should trigger workflows and things to remedy that. And so it is really good. It's a really good practice for systems that really need to stay up, especially systems that make you money like Netflix. While the SBA is pretty important, especially during times like this, it's not a revenue generating website, and it's pretty informational. So some of the major pieces, we have them set up in a very reliable way. If the tools go down, like, it's not mission critical, like people aren't gonna die. So not really something we need to practice there. But yeah, maybe a hospital system honestly needs to do something like that. It is a very interesting concept. I like, the first time I heard about it, I was like, man, like, we're getting into a state where people are like, part of our pipeline is to go randomly break stuff. Like, really, like, these tools, things like Gremlin and stuff, they can just blow away pieces of your whole infrastructure. People do this in production. Like, just to make sure they're on their toes, just to make sure their systems work as intended. And it's very, very interesting for sure. So what are the, so you are gonna get a little bit of time back. What are the key takeaways from tonight? What are the tangible takeaways from what we learned tonight? One, the first tangible takeaway is that again, the CLI is a method for interacting with your AWS services and managing your AWS services, as well as the console. And tonight we got a little bit hands-on, specifically with managing S3. So we learned about object storage, we learned about S3 on Monday. And today we kind of took those things and we learned how we could create a bucket. We learned how we could remove a bucket. We know that the bucket needs to be empty. We learned that we can copy files up to our bucket. We can sync files up and down from our bucket. So we can manage these objects from the command line. We just practiced that a little bit. We also learned that, about CloudFront. So one big reason why you learn about CloudFront along with S3 is because since S3 can host websites, this is a very common paradigm to use S3 along with CloudFront to be able to serve your sites to a lot of people for super cheap. And again, we're about to look at the pricing in a little bit, but we learned about content delivery networks, CDNs. Content delivery networks are a way to geographically distribute the content that you're trying to give to people, and those distributed networks of servers also cache your site. Why do they cache your content? That means they save the information kind of locally to those servers for easier distribution, so that it can reduce the load on your server and get the content to the people closest to those servers as fast as possible. And we learned a little bit about the different pieces. We learned about origins being the place where your content lives. We learned about the distribution being essentially the one big setup for CloudFront, that's your actual CDN that kind of houses all that information. We also learned about cache behaviors, which just lets you know how and what needs to be cached. Those cache behaviors also, the way that you have more than one of them is it actually allows you to do some things by path. So right now, I could have maybe journeys. I could have a whole website in S3 for journeys, but let's say maybe I had an app. And so we were building something called Cerebro. Maybe I have something called academy.mastermind.io/Cerebro. And right now this isn't a thing, but I could set it up to where this is a cache behavior, where /Cerebro is a cache behavior, and maybe it's a whole application, maybe it's a whole Go application I have running somewhere else, like completely somewhere else, and it would actually go get the information from there. So it allows you to kind of route off information and to be able to grab information from different endpoints if you want to do that. But cache behaviors let you know what to cache and for how long to cache it. We learned about TTLs, which is the time to live, and that lets CloudFront know how long it should keep a saved copy of your content before it expires, and then that information has to be refreshed. We learned that the only request that goes to the origin is the very first request. At each edge location, and then all subsequent requests will then be served cache data from CloudFront, from the CDN. We learned about some other CDNs. Again, Cloudflare might be one you might already know about or maybe want to check out. Akamai is the bigger, like, enterprise one. I know people are like, Akamai is like really big right now. I'm pretty sure. And I do some other stuff as well. Yeah. And that's kind of it for tonight. Let's look at pricing real quick, just so you know if you want to set one up for yourself, and something you may want to try out a little bit. It's not, I want to say it's free for a certain amount of data, a certain amount of data transfer, which you will likely not hit if you don't have a popular website already. But yeah, it has a free tier, 50 gigabytes of data transfer out, which is a lot of data. It's a lot of data. 12 months free, or 2 million HTTP or HTTPS requests each month for 1 year. You're not gonna hit that. So if you want to use the free tier, try it out. Won't hurt to try. It's free. I can actually add a video if someone wants to try to add this in front of their site. Maybe you still have the S3 site in your bucket still up, or maybe you have your web server still up, or maybe you have your own web server, own website that you're trying to set up. You can use this and put it out in front. it's interesting because it is pretty easy to set up if you use all default settings. But again, there are a lot of options in there that are probably going to confuse you. But I think you can leave pretty much everything kind of blank. But I can give you some information on setting that up. I just don't think it's something super important. It's just good to understand. So now all of you who want to be solutions architects later, if you have someone who's like, hey, I have this, you know, this site that I want to make sure people can access, that a lot of people can access, and make sure it's up and available, that will work. So this also works, I forgot to mention this, CloudFront also works if your site should go down, if your servers should go down, as long as, you know, as long as the edge location already has your data, it will serve your data, and it won't matter that your servers are down. You just need to get them back up for the TTL dies. Again, there's probably going to be edge locations that don't have the data you're looking for. So if, to some people, your site will appear down. I don't think there's a way to propagate out information to all edge locations. Maybe there is. I don't know of that. But it's also nice. It's nice. I know people kind of rely on this to do late night maintenance and stuff. You know, they'll do maintenance midday and stuff just because they can kind of rely on this to serve the data that they need. My domain website in S3 and CloudFront cost me maybe 70 cents per month. Exactly. My account is older than 12 months and some of the free tier stuff no longer applies. Yes, it's very cheap. You saw my stuff for the month. I probably get a couple thousand requests to my site. It's not crazy, but I get a couple thousand requests to my site per month. And it cost me like, and I actually have a lot of stuff in S3 and all my S3 buckets, and S3 cost me total like 40 cents per month, like 40 cents per month. So it's very cheap. S3 is very cheap to run. So yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of overhead getting everything set up, but once it's kind of there and it's set up, it's a set it and forget it. Like, I don't do any management. It's actually pretty easy to update your site as well. And maybe we'll go over that. We'll go over how my site is set up. And pipelines will probably be actually setting up a pipeline that does exactly this, is pushing, you know, automatically pushing site updates from GitHub, building it out and putting it into S3 bucket and clearing out the caches automatically. But yeah, 200 per year for shared hosting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'll be like cents if your site is static. If your site is static, it will be pretty much nothing. Yeah, 50 cents, seriously, it's very cheap. And this is why so also you could, like, there are other options too. Netlify is great, you can get some free stuff there, and GitHub pages, but I'm so comfortable with AWS, I just kind of like it. Oh, it's WordPress. So there are interesting ways that you can run WordPress kind of out of S3. It's not only out of S3, but there's some interesting ways. I don't recommend it, to be honest. But there are definitely cheaper ways to run WordPress, but you're gonna have to manually manage it. It kind of sucks. Let me see, what is, excuse me. You get your hosting cost to around $60 a year for that WordPress site. Yeah, WordPress, because WordPress needs, you know, the dynamic, it has dynamic content. It's got both the database and it's got a, you know, PHP server side. It's doing server side processing. Yeah. It's just super easy if you're in the AWS ecosystem. It really is. And again, just like anything else, it's the reason why people love Apple. The ecosystem, once you're in, it helps if you stay in. And that's why they provide you so many services. But again, whether or not it's the best, you know, people are always surprised when people ask me, like, is AWS the best cloud? Like, it's a cloud. It works for what I need it to do. Is the best. Maybe it's the most mature. But probably it's a bunch of crap. It does a lot wrong. But you know, I mean, I'll use what I need when I need it. I have no problem using other ones, but for now, it works for everything I need to do. Multiple websites in AWS. Yeah, yep. I'm hosting. I have two origins here, and I'm hosting both academy.mastermind.io, and I'm hosting Mastermind. Mastermind.io. You can host as much stuff as you want. I'm hosting my wife's website out of here, which is, you want people to go to your website? Too late, I already showed them. flickertoflames.com. You can go here to find this is her health and wellness blog, and there you go. And just, you know, don't take it down. This is also a WordPress site. We'll get some I don't have SSL on there because she wasn't like selling anything on there, but we'll get that set up. You can see some I think you can see some wedding pics if you want to find out, if you're planning a wedding and you want to find out how to have a cheap wedding. You can do this. Yes, we had 300 people, over 300 people at our wedding, but 260 people at our reception, you know, and we did it all for around $12,000, which is from what I hear pretty great, even though we were super broke at the time, and we struggled. The day before, I was struggling to get together enough money. I was running around the city trying to get all the stuff, and like I just wanted a burger, and I had to like go everywhere to like I was like, I have like $8 in my account, so I'm gonna spend 6 of this on a burger right now. And I sat there, and that was one of the best burgers I ever had. It was just like, I'm so tired. Tomorrow's this big day, but tomorrow will be great. You know, I was hoping when you invite 260 people, I was gonna be mad if people didn't give us gifts. I was really banking on having some money after that wedding, and we did. It saved us. That was 3 years ago. But yeah, we did. I don't necessarily say that I encourage anyone to do it the way that we did it, only because we did everything like to have that many people for that cheap. It was a lot of like we had to do a whole lot ourselves, and you know, we were the last people cleaning up at our wedding, which you know, is a gift and a curse. You know, save a little bit of money, but I don't know. I say that I would do it different now, but like then that was the money we had, so I had to work. Can we move this to AWS as a project? So this isn't AWS, but yes, we can. I looked over, I got the go ahead. Yes, this is great. Thank you, Aya. Yes, we will. This is great. Yes, we will. We will 100% do that, and maybe we'll make that like. I like that, because if we can make this a real document series, we can do it on stream, but we can actually structure it in a way that like I can pre-plan it and like really show how like a transition, even though it's already in the cloud, it's just sitting on a server, so we can work through it like we were doing a real digital transformation or real digital shift into the cloud. I like that. I really like that, and we will definitely try that. Yes, turning water into wine. Yes, for this wedding, but it was pretty dope. It was a fun wedding. It was a fun wedding, but it's funny when we were trying to figure out what to do, if we were going to invite everyone or no one. That's what it had to be. It was like we were both always on teams our whole lives, so like we had a lot of friends. We met on a track team, so we had a whole, like, even if we only wanted to invite the people from like our class that we were close to, like there were still just like big families, and then our friends group was huge, and then we have our own personal friends groups from high school and all this other stuff. It was crazy. It was hard, and people are still mad at us for not getting invites, but they'll be okay. But yeah, that's actually a great idea. I'm actually thank you. You know what, that's another great idea, and you have just won yourself the second Google Home Mini. So yesterday MGene already claimed the first Nest Mini, so that MGene has the charcoal one, but you, Aya, you get the other one. You get the, well, not the other one, there's one more. You get the chalk. You get the chalk one. I'll shoot you a message on here. Just shoot you your information, Aya, and I will I'll ship it out to you. And if you can get it to me, I'll shoot you a message, or if you can whisper me the stuff now, I'll try to get them both sent out tomorrow, to be honest. So thank you for that. That's a great idea, and we are absolutely going to go through with that. That's great content. I appreciate you. That's excellent. But yeah, that is it for tonight. And I said you were gonna get out of here early, and then I proceeded to take up all your extra time. So there are 2 minutes left. Thank you. Tonight was you know, a little lighter on the information. I'm gonna put in some of these links. Again, S3 is an important service to know about. Whether or not you manage it from the CLI, not super important. But again, getting that feel, getting an understanding of how AWS kind of works as a whole. Knowing what a CDN is pretty important. Not necessarily that you know how to use CloudFront just yet, but understanding the concept of a CDN. Watch a video, check some stuff out about CDNs. It is a pretty important cloud concept. It's very, very helpful for the things that you're trying to do. And understanding what purpose it solves is pretty important and pretty great. Yeah, and then besides that, that's it. So next week, what are we going to be learning next week? So let's take a look at where we're at, because you have all officially completed exactly 1/2 of this first journey. I'm proud of you. Excellent job sticking around, excellent job toughing through it, for sure, because I know it can be a lot. But what do we have left? What are we going to talk about for the remainder? So we just got done through S3 and CDNs. Now, next time we're going to talk about deployment patterns and best practices. So this is going to be a little more fun. This is going to apply to a little more than just the cloud, but it is important they ask some of these things on the exam. Things like canary deployments, things like green-blue deployments, just how you get your data out, different methods for getting data out into production, and some of the best practices inside the cloud. That should be fun. We'll get hands-on a little bit and we'll practice doing some of these things and how they work. And then I think the next part is a little bit boring, to be honest with you. The on-prem services, all about databases and RDS provisioning. The on-prem services will be very short because we're not doing any on-prem. Like, I don't have anything to show you with it, but to know about them is pretty important. And then the databases is gonna be kind of cool. I'll teach you a little bit of SQL. We'll do a little bit of an intro to SQL there. And I'll give you some resources so that you can get deeper into SQL. And that's also a pretty good opportunity to see how you would structure maybe a WordPress site there. Might be pretty fun. And then we'll do a Beanstalk lab, even though I dislike Beanstalk a lot. And then we'll get into some cool, infrastructure as code stuff here. So we'll use that text editor here a lot. Might be a little bit confusing. I actually have some files for you. Yeah, and we'll just dive through the rest of the stuff. So good job. Clap it up. Thanks for making it through the 8 weeks. We'll make it through the next 8 weeks, and you're on your way. I promise you, you're on your way. I'm telling you, this information, whatever you want to do, this information is good talking points. Even if you're not a pro in the stuff, I promise you, being able to just be like, hey, I don't know, I learned about CloudFront a little bit, and all I know is that I saw him hit the site and it said hit, and then he did something, and then it said miss, and then it said hit again. So I remember something about the first request. That the first request is cached. I know that it caches data. If you can just start to recall bits and pieces of information, you can really start to incorporate that again into your conversations. I encourage you to start talking to more people about what you're learning, about what you know, because the better you can speak about what you know, the easier it is to get jobs. I'm telling you, you can go in and you can kill some people. You can crush some interviews, because half of the time the people interviewing you don't even know the stuff at all. So we're getting there. We're getting through it, taking our time. Don't sweat it. Even if you fell off and you missed a class here or something like that, or you're way behind, don't sweat it. It's okay. It's not a sprint. No, we'll all take our times. This stuff, we're not going anywhere. This is not the only time this is going to run. The stuff stays on YouTube. We're going to constantly be doing different things. So there's always going to be an opportunity to pick up information and add new tools to your tool belt. Just keep going. When you're feeling good, do this stuff. If you get burned out a little bit and you need to chill out like 100%. Like I do encourage you to try to keep going while you're kind of in a flow. But if you need to back off for a little bit, if you want to take some time to really catch up on some concepts, to move on to something else, it's okay. There's tons of information to learn. It's always going to be here. We're always going to be here. So, just keep going, just slowly, nice and easy. We'll do it together. But yes, proud of everybody. Who are we rating tonight? Let's check it out. Push.tv. Let's head over to the science and tech section, and Coding Garden's on. AWS is actually on. Are we even? This seems weird. We're gonna raid AWS. We're gonna try to get their attention. AWS owns Twitch, just so you know. So we're gonna check out AWS and see. I don't see what they say. Let's rate them. Let's see what's up. I don't know what they're doing over here. They're doing some stuff on Stack Overflow. This might be pretty good. Cube Root, what's up? Just found your stream today and really enjoyed it. I appreciate the kind words. Seriously, good to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Pretty dope. You mean get around? I like that. That's a good joke. I love get jokes. They're hella impressed, and it's just stuff's pretty dope. That's good. Yes, let's go ahead and let's hit up. Let's they might not be raidable, but let's find out. Raid and see. I feel like they're not raidable because their name is just AWS. Oh baby, we're going there now. They're gonna allow us to raid them. Let's get over there. Let's say hello. We gotta say hello. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be the most fun raid we've ever done. Let's head over. We're out of here. Decoded is tomorrow. If you want to learn a little bit about functions, we're gonna be learning about loops. Tomorrow's loop to loop. If you want to learn how to write loops and start to understand what loops are in programming, come over with us tomorrow in Decoded, and we're gonna be doing some CI/CD stuff this week in pipelines. So let's go. What's the raid message? The raid message is oh man, I gotta get better at this. The raid message. Someone came in. Oh, we love Azure. Come on, no. We can't drop in with we love Azure, even though I'm sure they'll think it's hilarious. Let's see. That also works. All the Pikachus, all the PogChamps, all the raids. I kind of like that. Feel free to let's copy that. I'm gonna copy that. That's our raid message. If I can copy that, there we go. But yeah, let's hit that up. Let's send the buckets. No, buckets is perfect. Buckets, and let's do a little bit of let's add in one of the emojis here. You know, let's do buckets with either the LOL or the compute or something. I like buckets though. Let's head over, let's say buckets, and let's see what they're doing over there. We're gonna double their viewership right now, so this is gonna be pretty fun. So let's head over in 5, 4. Oh no, actually it's counting down again, even though I just said let's head over. So 4, 3, 2, that was weird. 1, let's go.